He lived. He was called in for questioning. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
17 million views and counting. Somebody went viral over the weekend. Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. The against the grain of all time, Mr. Perloff.
Get out of here. All right, you want a little trivia? That was my, I think, third or fourth most viewed clip.
Yeah.
What beat it, the two things that beat it, I can't remember what the number one. Oh, yeah.
First, let's say what actually went viral. Then we'll get to what beat it.
What went viral was this clip of Caitlin Clark getting elbowed, and they called it a flagrant foul, or their version of a flagrant foul. And
intentional foul, yeah.
I argued with that.
Right.
My number one
you
ever.
You said a 2-year-old could see that was not intentional.
Right.
And that got people riled up.
It still cannot beat my all-time viral clip, which was then Jets coach Adam Gase ripping smelling salts before a preseason game. For some reason, the Adam Gase smelling salts took off, but this was second. Our buddy,
even the smelling salts couldn't help that guy.
Yeah, I know.
He needed something stronger.
More smelling salts. It turns out Caitlin Clark needed smelling salts because on this play, which was a routine play, she got elbowed in the face. In slow-mo, it looked like this person just cold-cocked Caitlin Clark. It was in the beginning of the Holy Cross, Iowa game, and I tweeted it. Me and the announcers were like, oh, that looked like a basketball play, not an intentional foul.
Right.
I tweeted it out. In slow-mo, it looked terrible.
It looks really bad in slow-mo.
But
like a lot of slow-mos a slow motion hit to the face never looks good.
Right. But it was just the most routine, normal, nothing play of all time. And the announcers couldn't believe. At first, they had no idea that there was anything going on because they couldn't see it from their vantage point. So they thought it was just a routine play. A Holy Cross player was cutting through the lane and accidentally elbowed Caitlin Clark in the face. So my argument was that clearly wasn't intentional because the wording of what a flagrant is in women's college basketball is intentional foul. And there was nothing intentional about it.
Right.
And to me, that was the most obvious fact ever. As I said, a 2-year-old could do it. But then our friend Rex Chapman tweeted it out, and America thought it was clearly one of the great punches in college basketball history.
It was, yes. It took on a real life of its own, but this is the Caitlin Clark effect. So let's hear some sound here. We have Caitlin. If you didn't see it, don't worry. It's basically a woman from Holy Cross who's, bigger than Caitlin Clark, kind of going through the lane trying to make a cut, and she's holding her one arm up, kind of like out, like away from her body. And we didn't know until after that apparently her hand is broken. So she didn't want to have her hands down because she didn't want excessive contact. So while her arm is up, the left arm, right? The left arm is up, is the non-shooting hand. Caitlin's there in the lane, and the woman elbows her in the face. Her name is Brona Power Cassidy. She's a senior for Holy Cross. She's from Ireland. She's cool. So she elbows her in the face, and Caitlin goes down like a ton of bricks, right? Here was Caitlin after, let's hear cut 10, please, Pete, said she didn't think it was intentional or done on purpose.
It was just kind of a stinger to the nose. I was lucky it wasn't anything worse than that, but it didn't really bother me too much. I think you just kind of respond. Nice to have 2 free throws and then run a play, but obviously it looked kind of bad in slow-mo, but it wasn't on purpose. She didn't do that on purpose, so she came up and said sorry, but honestly, I'm totally okay.
Okay, Caitlin's okay. Let's actually hear from Brona Power Cassidy next. Can we hear cut 11 from Brona, the Holy Cross? They were the 16 seed in Iowa taking on the Hawkeyes. They ended up losing by a lot, but they really held tight in this game. Here's Brona Power Cassidy saying the elbow was unintentional.
It was totally unintentional. I actually broke my hand in our playoff game at BU in our final, and so when I was moving, I was just very conscious of keeping it out of too much contact, and unfortunately it just happened that way. I would like to apologize. It was not intentional at all, and she was a great sport about understanding that.
Okay, she also said she knows it looks bad because it's in slow-mo.
Yeah, they actually said to her, the question was, so you went viral after the game. I'm like, oh my God, I got this poor person in trouble.
Yeah, you did. So here's what it sounded like on ESPN. Cut 19, please.
ABC.
Took a pop to the face, perhaps. The official's going to look at this replay. Let's see. Oh, that's on the rip through on the cut by Power Cassidy. With the elbow.
Previous foul is under review.
Okay, and the announcers did not think that it was an intentional foul. We've got that sound too. Let's play that.
Yeah, and it looks like she was just going to cut. It doesn't look like there's any intent right there, but definitely comes through right across the face.
Okay, so you tweeted everyone could see this wasn't intentional.
Yeah.
And you got snowed. I mean, it was a bit of, like, the announcers agreed with you.
Yeah.
And I think the two women agreed with you, both Caitlin and the woman, Power Cassidy, who were involved in the play. But the reaction was so swift. And this is really what we're getting at here, which is it's almost like if you say anything negative towards Caitlin Clark, right? If you say anything like, hey, she didn't intentionally get hit in the face, all of a sudden you become public enemy number one, which you literally lived this weekend.
Yeah, it's amazing. If she had hit any other Iowa player or any other player in college basketball, except maybe Angel Reese in the face, that tweet gets maybe 13 views instead of 16 million views. You're right. I couldn't believe the energy around Caitlin Clark and this tweet. It was shocking to me. It was a lesson. Caitlin Clark is just different. She's different than everything in this tournament. And I'm wondering, how do you actually go out there and play when the entire country, the entire country is watching you and expects you to go all the way? So you're Iowa. It's enough pressure to be in the NCAA tournament. I can't remember a team on the men's or the women's side that's had this kind of pressure in a long time. Maybe, I'm just trying to think of one off the top of my head where there's been a run like this where everybody's waiting to see you. The presidents of other countries, people all over the globe expect Iowa to be there. I think you could see some of that pressure working on Iowa. And I think it makes it much harder for them to advance.
No doubt. I mean, the frustration for Caitlin Clark was all over, in the first half. She gets into a heated exchange with an official. Okay, that happens a lot. She's, headbutts a basketball at one point out of frustration. And even her own father is in the stands, and you can see he mouths to her, "Stop. Like, you are getting yourself out of your game." And she also had 5 turnovers in the first half. And listen, she handles the ball a lot, so you're going to turn the ball over. But 5 in the first half is excessive. She really calmed down in the second half. Holy Cross is a 16 seed. Upsets like this never happen in the women's tournament. First of all, you have the ultimate home field advantage. For the top seeds, you're literally playing in your home arena. So it's a sellout crowd of diehard Hawkeye fans. But this was a Holy Cross team that came in and was really physical at first, and it got Caitlin out of her game. I think that you saw how frustrated she was, and this is only going to get tougher. I mean, maybe this is a wake-up call. They ended up winning by a lot, so the second half was more of a landslide, especially more in the fourth quarter. But to be honest, like, she gets under pressure, it looks different. It looks like you can take her out of her game. And I think it was all the things at once. The pressure of the moment, the pressure of maybe feeling like you have the entire tournament on your shoulders, maybe the sport. I don't know if that's fair, but I think you saw some of the cracks there.
Well, she's also coming off a Big Ten title game, where she started at 0 for 9 from three-point land.
Yeah.
And Nebraska, who I guess plays really well against Iowa, showed a scheme. It was basically a box and one on Caitlin. Yeah. And Holy Cross, it wasn't exactly a box and one, but they knew where Caitlin was the whole time. And it made me wonder, if you're in this tournament, it's not the regular season. This game is not just a game. You are really prepared for Caitlin Clark. And these last 2 games showed, okay, if you make somebody else, there's a way to make somebody else beat you. It's kind of like playing Steph Curry. It reminds me so much of that, where she's just going to have to move it back and be consistent 10 feet behind the line, because they are not going to give her any easy looks. This is Holy Cross. Like you said, they're a 16 seed.
Yeah, right.
So I think there's a blueprint here. You wonder watching Caitlin Clark, oh my God, why didn't you just face guard her 45 feet from the basket and make her beat you? Nebraska showed that, and Nebraska took Iowa to overtime in that Big Ten final game. Nebraska's not even that great. So I think there's real pressure on here. I said this to you earlier. I just cannot see Iowa getting through to the final game again. I mean, they have so much pressure, and everybody except Caitlin Clark's going to have to step up now, because we see the formula.
Right.
Make them beat you.
Well, it's funny because you would think the team that's really feeling the pressure would be the undefeated team. And that's South Carolina, because most of the time, when you are undefeated, the pressure of that starts to creep in.
Did they look nervous to you this opening weekend?
No, they didn't. Won it by a million. It's interesting, and I just wonder if, and this is something that happens in sports, and I'm not trying to take away the fun of this, right? I think a lot of people, you mentioned it, Perloff, are rooting for Caitlin Clark and Iowa because they're rooting for the story. Mostly for Caitlin Clark. I don't know if it's about Iowa. I think it's about her playing for her hometown. We never really cared. The country had never really cared too much about Iowa women basketball before Caitlin got there. So I'm just going off of history there. I just wonder, can we talk about her in the right way, or can we accept the fact that this might not end like a movie? Like, I know we all want it so much, or a lot of people want this. Maybe not South Carolina, maybe not LSU, but a lot of people want this so bad. She might lose. She probably will. You know, the odds that they make it to the title game, it's like, I think we have to all be okay. I saw this a little on the men's side when you're seeing Oakland play yesterday, and it was a great story. Oakland, they're outside of Detroit, and, you know, Jack Golke's raining threes in the first round. They pull off a big upset. But you know what? Against Kentucky. But you know what? The refs gave them every call at the end of the game yesterday. Was it Saturday night? Saturday night's game. Thank you. And it's like, it's not a fairy tale. It's sports. I know sometimes we treat it like a fairy tale, but the best thing we like about it, Perloff, is we have no idea what the outcome is going to be. And we have to find a way that we can, Perloff doesn't get an avalanche of negative criticism just because he says, hey, Caitlin Clark didn't actually take a, left hook to the face. It was a basketball play. And it's like, you can't even say that about Caitlin Clark because she's such a darling. Good for her, great for the sport. But guys, we've got to be able to talk about this like it's still sports and like she's still an athlete, don't we?
Yeah, it's exactly. This isn't the NFL. There's no script.
I think that we get caught up in it, and I get it. I don't want to say you shouldn't get caught up in it. I'm not waving my finger and saying, oh, how dare you care? How dare you get excited about it? No, you should absolutely get excited about it. But we all have to also face the fact here that it may not end like a fairy tale. It may not end like a movie script. She's still going to move on. She's still amazing. And listen, like it might just not be a Disney movie. No,
that would be, I hate to say it. I wanted to see her advance because it's just more exciting when the singular superstar, and that the irony is men's basketball is completely missing that singular superstar. We have a bunch of really, really good players, but there's no Zion or there's no Michael Jordan or there's just no name like this. For me, Caitlin Clark is historical. That being said, the officials watch that storyline too because they might protect her. I wonder that. I think here's the thing. There's going to be so much scrutiny on every call against Iowa too. I learned that the hard way. That is a preview. Imagine the LSU game. Imagine if this happens in the LSU game and there's a controversial call. Wow, it is just going to blow up. It is going to be the number one story in sports.
Yeah, I mean, the other part too, and there's like an X's and O's part of this, of why this went so viral. And again, Perloff, you said 16 million. You're 17 million and counting. I mean, people really got into your tweet.
Mr. Worldwide over there.
I know. There's like articles, like think pieces being written about what Perloff said. And I mean, it's pretty wild. They called it an intentional foul, and that didn't do anyone any favors. Because when you say intentional foul, that assumes she was kind of going in there, again, with the intent that she wanted to hurt Caitlin Clark or that she wanted to take out her face. It may not have been a basketball play because her arms were kind of flailing around, but that's a flagrant. A flagrant is different, I think, than intentional. It's excessive contact. They absolutely should have called it. They're well within their rights to call that. It was excessive contact to the face. Even if it was inadvertent, she made the contact with the face. When you call it intentional, it puts a weight behind it, like she's out there MMA style, trying to put Caitlin Clark on the floor.
Yeah, this is where I got in trouble. I mean, that was her lane to go through. Caitlin Clark got in her way. If there was a foul either way, it was defensive. But then you get the excessive contact.
Did you write that? You want to get 17 million more views?
Well,
that out today.
It definitely
trying
was
to get us canceled.
It wasn't necessarily a foul. I mean, Caitlin Clark's feet weren't set. That's why the announcers didn't expect a foul. It was clearly just a collision. I mean, people run into each other all the time in every sport. I just think that the elbow got so high, which we learned later was because her hand was broken, that they called it flagrant. But it was not. There was no intent whatsoever. That's sort of my point. It was so obvious that she wasn't trying to punch Caitlin Clark in the face. And here's my question, man. Why would this woman try and punch Caitlin Clark in the face? Like, is there any bad blood going on there?
No, but, first
it's
of all,
insane.
Holy Cross was being very physical. Apparently, that's their style. Can't say I've been watching a lot of Holy Cross.
The 16 seed, yeah.
I get it. I get it. Patriot League, stand up. But here's the thing. I think a lot of people want to try to take Caitlin Clark out of her game. So why would somebody go after her? I think
But they were on offense.
No, I know.
They were
Caitlin
not on
was playing defense.
It's one thing.
It's not hacking her and
it
stuff
could have
like
been
that.
any player. I don't think that person even knew it was Caitlin Clark who was standing there. It was.
Well, you probably are aware where she is on the floor.
Oh, on defense? Why?
They
were running some sort of high pick and roll action. I don't think there was any notice that it was Caitlin Clark. And the other people, here's where the big fight came in. The big fight.
Wait, what? There was more?
It got way worse.
Oh, gosh.
So I said, it was clearly an accident. You know how many people I've accidentally elbowed in the face through the years on the basketball court because I'm a spaz? Then, okay, our buddy Jeff Schwartz, former NFL player, is like, well, there's a huge difference between you playing at the Y and high-level women's college basketball. And then I tweeted back at him. I'm like, "Oh, sorry, you're an offensive lineman, not Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Relax." And that caused some trouble. So then there was a fight about. My point was, it was totally accidental contact.
Wait, did you get into who's more athletic, an offensive lineman or you?
By the way, he is very athletic. So I sent a note to apologize. Never heard back. We have a beef there. Apparently, I sent a note back to Jeff.
I'm friends with him. Are you? Am I now guilty?
Oh, I think so. I said, Jeff, I'm so sorry. Of course, this is a different level of athleticism. But we've all watched basketball. There are random collisions. Can we just? Not every random collision is a flagrant or intentional foul. There are such things as two people running into each other by accident. Do we see headbutts all the time? They're not all intentional fouls, and this would not have been even called if it wasn't Caitlin Clark.
I got to be honest. You have not only the entire internet against you on this one, you also have the stars against you on this one because I'm looking in the chat, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio, twitch.tv/CBS Sports Radio. If you want to watch the show, our friend Angela, the tarot card reader, said she did a quick poll, said it was somewhat intentional. Ace of Pentacles. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Yeah. They probably should have gone to that on a replay. Instead of having the replay official, the ref who never showed up because they couldn't get her volume, the technical issue.
So yeah, this is the first time ever the women's tournament has had an officiating expert. And they were going to bring her on. They kept teasing her. They're like, we're having audio issues. If that woman had come on and said something, and I think she might have been on my side and said it's a basketball move.
I know. So
it can't be a flagrant and a basketball move.
So clearly it was the deep state trying to keep this woman from saying that Caitlin Clark didn't have a case.
I'll tell you one thing too, Maggie.
But anyway, they should just bring Angela, the tarot card reader. Is it a flagrant? Have her pull a card? Boom.
I'm telling you right now, this is a preview for America. What's going to happen? There's so much pent up energy around Caitlin Clark. There's a giant controversy awaiting because if I can start some crowd, can you imagine if this is deeper in the tournament and they're facing a premier team? It is going to blow up. It's going to be crazy.
So one of the people who was against you in this fight, EJ.
Hey,
without going to the X's and O's.
I
know. EJ secretly leading the mob against Perloff.
Pitchforks and all.
But aside from the actual X's and O's of this, right? Because if you didn't see the play, you can go look at it. Again, it looks bad in slow-mo. Caught her in the nose. The officials, or the announcers rather, did agree with Perloff. The internet did not. You didn't like that it wasn't a basketball play.
Yeah. Clearly it's not, because she said it wasn't. She admitted it was not a basketball play. She said, I was trying to protect my hand, so that's why I raised my arms up to do this, and I hit her in the face.
And she got the call, right? Like Caitlin got the call. It was the intentional foul, which is basically their flagrant. It's 2 shots and possession.
Huge play, too, because it was a close game. It was 26-21 in the second quarter.
Yep.
And they got 2 shots, and that sort of started to turn the tide of the game. So it was an important play. That's another reason that I was tweeting about. I'm like, oh my gosh, Holy Cross is possibly going to make a game out of this, and then it just ended right there.
Yeah.
What
else did you have a problem with?
Well, so first of all, on the play, just the way I think of these plays is, okay, if that happened to my team, would I expect a flagrant? And I wasn't rooting for any of these teams. I didn't watch this game. If I just seeing it just without context, I'm like, that's clearly a flagrant. You can't elbow somebody in the face.
And they called it.
And they called that. My issue though with you guys is I feel like there's this thing like, well, if she doesn't win the championship or she doesn't go far, well, that's okay. I don't buy that.
Oh, I don't think that. I said if she, I just think we have to understand there's a possibility that sports is not going to end like a movie.
Well, I think people understand that, but I think we shouldn't absolve her of the expectations, I think, is what I would say.
Absolve her? She's just a player. It's okay if she loses.
Perloff, she's not just a player. If she was just a player, we wouldn't be starting the show talking about you going viral with 17 million views on a maybe or maybe not intentional foul. She's bigger than that. So to me, like I don't think that it's unnecessary or it's going over the top to say, hey, There are expectations. We expect you to go far. And if you fall short, yes, it will be a disappointment.
Oh, well, that's
no
where you and I
question.
agree on that. I mean, I said if she goes out early, this is going to, I think, have a hangover to her pro career. I mean, I think that they're definitely right to have expectations on her. They're the number 1 seed. You get the first 2 games at home. I just think we saw what the pressure can do. And, it's a fine line, right? Sometimes that pressure can really bring out the best of you, sometimes the worst, sometimes both. And I think we got both sides of it with Caitlin in that opening round. So I'm curious to see what she does tonight because teams are just going to keep being physical and they've figured out a way to, you're not neutralizing her, but get in her way.
She's not LeBron. I mean, I think what I'm hearing from you guys is if she doesn't win the whole thing, it's a bust. Nobody expects her to physically dominate this entire tournament, do they? I mean, if they do, then that's not going to happen.
I think a lot of people want to see it.
Is she not by and far the best player in women's college basketball?
No.
What?
She's the best player in women's basketball, but clearly there are ways to stop this Iowa team.
There's not one person that's going to get a vote for Player of the Year besides Caitlin Clark. Not one person.
If they play South Carolina, last year was an 11.5 point spread. I think it's even bigger. I'm saying South Carolina is such a heavy favorite. If they face off, she's going to be an underdog. She's closer to a Cinderella than South Carolina.
She's averaging 30 points.
I'm just saying, if they play South Carolina, what's the spread?
Well,
I don't care about the spread. They beat them last year.
Yeah, I know it. It was a double-digit spread then. It's going to be a double-digit. I'm just saying expectations based on the public is that South Carolina is a way better team. We know that.
Pearl, it's basketball. It's competition. We can talk about a spread. We can talk about what we expect. We saw those 2 teams line up on the basketball court. And what happened? Caitlin Clark went off and they won the game. Yes, South Carolina is a great team. I think that they're a more talented team. I don't think that means that we should just assume and say, "Oh, Caitlin Clark loses them." Well, it's okay. You're the best player on the court in any other sport, whether it's men's basketball, WNBA, NBA. We would say, "Hey, the best player on the court by far. We expect them to rise to the occasion,
even when they're underdogs."
Yes, of course. Look, we just said LeBron. You said LeBron James. How many times did he play the Warriors and he was the underdog, and we kept still crushing him for getting swept or crushing him for losing in 5 games? That had been a bunch.
When even the KD Warriors, we were crushing LeBron.
Yes, he did get crushed. What do you mean?
I don't know. The Warriors were heavy favorites,
and people said this is why LeBron is an MJ, which is what we keep talking about.
Well, listen, I think she's got the expectations. Clearly, I just wonder if people understand that we can, even if with the expectations and even if she's the darling here, we still have to be able to talk about her in a way that she's an athlete. She hasn't she is like risen above the source. She's not levitating above it. If Perloff wants to say she shouldn't, that shouldn't have been a flagrant, he can't get buried under an avalanche of criticism. It just felt crazy.
Social media is a bunch of idiots. I mean, that's fact. I mean, that's proven empirically.
I know, but you don't think Rex and Jeff Schwartz are idiots. Like, there are people you actually know who are leading a charge against you.
Definitely
EJ.
weren't watching the game. Everyone who was watching the game called me and said you were right. Paulie Paps, our good buddy, who watches every second of Caitlin Clark's, like, there is no doubt that was a basketball move.
My gosh.
It's a lot.
I'm not playing basketball with you guys. Just putting that out there now.
Bring a face mask.
Well, by the way, that's
855-212.
not a bad strategy because I could easily have been that Holy Cross player.
855-212-4CBS. All right, we get this going talking about Caitlin Clark and what we saw from the women's tournament. And is it fair to still have these expectations on Caitlin? 855-212-4CBS. Maggie Perloff, we got a lot to do today. Glad you're with us. CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Heated discussion about a call from Saturday's Iowa Holy Cross game, as we are known to debate whatever Iowa and Holy Cross face off throughout the record books.
Yeah,
it was a
we
1
do say
seed
that.
versus 16 seed. It got ABC, prime time, 3 o'clock game, huge deal. I said that there was a bad call when Caitlin Clark got elbowed in the face, and they called it an intentional foul. Anyway, it went viral. Thank you, Rex Chapman. I am looking, Maggie, at the archive on this website, Awful Announcing, who wrote it up. They cover the media. Here are some of the other things that the Maggie and Perloff show has been written up for.
Oh.
This is a lot of fun.
This is the archive of our show being written up by Awful Announcing. Okay.
Just a couple things. The last thing before this, WWE star Seth Rollins on Vince McMahon's allegations. It's a disgusting situation. A great story. We got that at the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Okay, very serious. Breaking news. Then I'm going back here. So I guess Zach was sitting in for me, and Zach Gelb eats mint ice cream with ranch on air. It tastes like crap, but it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Important headline. What?
I think I was here for that.
I do remember that day. Very
August
vividly.
10th, 2023, big headline. Then there's a few stories, or multiple stories on maybe the biggest incident in Maggie and Perloff history, the biggest controversy. CBS Sports Radio pauses Andrew Perloff's potentially dangerous peanut butter bit.
I did like 3 podcasts off of that. People were very interested. There was another think piece that was written about the peanut butter.
We have actually a lot of headlines that aren't about the show, but basically somehow Awful Announcing is in a weird lane with our show. And we like them. They're actually super cool people.
Yeah, they are. It's called Awful Announcing, kind of tongue-in-cheek. It's just about announcing.
Right, it's about announcing. But the headline today is Andrew Perloff blasted for terrible take on Caitlin Clark play. I sent them a note. I'm like, I think this headline is pejorative. Like, let them decide for themselves. Could you say Andrew Perloff blasted for take on Caitlin Clark play? The headline says blasted for terrible take on Caitlin Clark play. Where's the journalism in Awful Announcing? Let the audience decide for themselves. But anyway, it's nice to be covered. All news is good news, I guess. But anyway, so I think I actually didn't feel bad because at least it's just arguing over a call. I had 6 angry tweets about an Auburn player getting ejected and destroying my bracket on Friday night. I was so mad. All I do on my Twitter feed is blame the officials for things. If anybody wants anyone to rip the officials, come to Andrew Perloff. Why this one took off on Caitlin Clark is still a mystery to me. I don't know if you guys felt that way during the bracket. Did anyone else blame the officials? That is my go-to whenever my bracket gets destroyed. I'm like, the officials wanted Yale to beat Auburn.
Well, I think they really wanted Oakland to beat NC State.
I felt that way too.
If you're NC State, this is on the men's side, obviously. If you're NC State, and I know Oakland was the good story, they were the 14 seed. They upset 3rd seed Kentucky. We talked about John Calipari and his future and whether it's in question. But, NC State also a good story. So,
they're a great story.
I think it's okay. You didn't have to try to hand the game to Oakland.
When's the last time NC State lost a basketball game? They're all of a sudden a
February.
big deal. I will admit, I thought it was going to be all underdogs again, the Florida Atlantics of the world. But you know what? That's by design because they stuck Florida Atlantic and San Diego State right in the UConn bracket, and UConn's going to kill everybody. So I think the tournament organizers are the reason that we have all these number 1 seeds advancing.
Huh.
I think it's totally. I mean, look at UConn's road. They beat Stetson and Northwestern.
Northwestern the number 1 overall seed.
They earned
You're
that.
supposed to get
whatever. Northwestern should be covering this game, not playing in it. That was ridiculous. UConn is being handed the title.
I'm sorry. Is Purdue the number 1 overall seed?
No, UConn is
the number 1. Okay.
Wow. Yeah, Northwestern. They had a good year this year. Boo Boo, he's a good guard. Then they got crushed by UConn. But guess what? UConn crushes everybody.
Well, that's the thing. The top seeds have been crushing everybody. So for all the parity, college basketball is so different right now. All 4 1 seeds, all 4 2 seeds, half the 3 seeds. Andrew Bogish is here with headlines back from his jaunt over to the NBA.
Hello, little
Sounded
people.
great. Congrats. Great job.
Thank you very much. I missed you guys. I've been gone for a very long time.
We saw you Monday, then it was like,
Gone.
Bogish is gone.
I'm out of here.
You did not miss us. You're on a private plane with an NBA team and you missed us? Get out of here.
I got to be honest, traveling like an NBA player is an experience. My new goal now is not to play. I don't want to play minutes in the NBA. I just want to be good enough to be on a team to travel to games in the NBA.
I walked in this
I was going to
morning.
say you're a 40-year-old white man who's got a
Maggie.
1 centimeter vertical. So
Never mind. Didn't miss Maggie.
Sorry.
I missed you, though.
Missed me. You saw me in the coffee room this morning. You didn't even recognize me. I'm like, hey, I had to introduce. I'm Andrew Perloff. You're like, oh, right, my previous life.
Yeah,
I
I had my
came in with
headphones
sunglasses
in.
on, so that's probably why you didn't see you.
yeah. Showed up today in a fur coat. I mean, what the heck?
Why are your clothes all sequins? It's weird. This NBA is really
That's
getting to your
glitter,
head.
Maggie.
I'm sorry. It's NBA lifestyle. The fur coat we can do without.
Yeah, the NBA lifestyle.
It is remarkable how there aren't really rules anymore. Like you just get on the plane, there's food waiting for you.
This is the charter.
Yeah, if you want to sit down while they're taking off, great. If not, feel free to go to the bathroom. Like all the things that you go through on a normal flight apparently are for show. Your seat
Not
doesn't
for safety.
No, your seat can be back. Your seatbelt can be off. You can talk. You can giggle. You can do whatever. Have your phone out. Don't put it in airplane mode. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
You realize why we need these rules. Have you seen how people behave on planes lately? We are a pack of hyenas.
You should see how people, when there are free snacks, behave on NBA charter planes too.
People like you. I don't know.
I was one of the first people. I was being nice. I took one thing, and then I heard just handfuls of bags of nuts and granola bars crinkling. People just like stock up for winter on these
Calf
things.
straw.
They also. Oh wait, the players or the other people?
Everybody.
I was gonna say the players at least just did an athletic endeavor.
Yes.
You can
Mikal
understand why
Bridges,
they would be hungry.
He makes $40 million a year. You mean he's taking advantage of the free granola bars?
Yeah, man. There was free food at the gym, at the arena as they were leaving, and then more food on the plane.
Have you ever seen the buffet, the post-game buffet that's usually in the locker room afterwards? That looks good.
Have
And
you ever
can't
flown
touch it.
private before? Is this different than a normal private flight?
This is my second time flying private.
Okay.
On the charter.
On the charter.
Yeah.
This was a higher experience than going to Nebraska for Fordham football, which was a charter flight.
Oh, that sounds cool.
But this one was it was a regular Delta plane reconfigured inside for more space. Like the person in front of you, they couldn't bother you. They could be doing somersaults in their seat. It was not going to affect you. Your little table came out of the arm of your chair, so it wasn't connected to their seat.
Right.
You could have stretched out, reclined.
The average height is like 6'10". So.
Yeah.
Do the Nets own this plane? Is this a
No.
Nets only plane, or they repurpose it for multiple things?
Yeah, I thought with Josiah and all his cash, I was going to walk onto a Nets plane, but it was just a Delta redesigned inside plane.
How much would that cost the Maggie and Perloff show to get it next road trip? We all get on the private.
You want to fly private to San Antonio to apologize to Wemby?
How
really
much do you think that'll
changes
put
the-
me back?
$300,000 maybe.
Well, although off your Caitlin Clark tweet, you could probably monetize your account now and maybe make some money off of X and pay for that plane.
It's crazy you're not doing that, but that would really materially change the bet. I mean, you can't go from a road trip to a charter flight.
I'll be honest though, if it does put like Perloff $100,000 in debt, I mean that would be a painful punishment for him.
What's that?
To bankrupt them?
Yeah, if you went $100,000
Sounds like
in debt
a lot.
because you decided to go private instead of driving to San Antonio.
Maybe we could do barter with Wheels Up or something where we
Yeah.
give them something and they let us fly to San Antonio.
I think you should just take your 16 million views and start selling things. Hashtag this is an ad and just start pushing product on. Do a get ready with me video before you come into work and see what kind of money you can make off of social media.
To be honest, my experience, Instagram is much more monetizable than X/Twitter. So that's a problem, first of all. Second of all, it doesn't matter how much money we make. That private plane you were on, 300,000 is light. How
to
big
be,
was
right?
it? It was a 747 probably. It was huge.
It was not a 747, but it was oddly long. Like
okay.
So the players, the media and non-players go on first and hide in the back. And then the players get on, they close the door and we leave. And then you do the reverse when you land. So I didn't see a player in either plane.
The players sit in the front?
In the front, yeah.
That's different.
Yeah, the bus, they want to be in the back, but in the plane, they want to be in the front.
But how are you going to have your gambling and your poker games and stuff in the front?
They gambled throughout the plane, But for the majority of the flight, they were in the front. I don't remember if there's any kind of partition, but they were so far ahead of us, and there were that many like sections. Couldn't see him, couldn't hear him, except when they celebrated their takeoff bet. That's all the interaction.
Well, to be
we got.
honest, I mean, and let's be fair, the Nets aren't exactly playing for much right now.
No.
It did hurt your call. The call was great.
Listen, they're 2 for 2 in my book. They won a game. They almost won a game that I've done this year. I feel like I should at least be on the trip, if not working at their games, because they seem to play their best when I'm around.
You need to be a hanger-oner.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you guys watch Air Force One movies? I'm obsessed with Air Force One. The president's plane,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that he has a private bedroom in the back, that is my dream.
That's the biggest part.
Oh, yes.
You don't think the president would have a bedroom on his plane? Of course he would.
Well, the plane is crazy because they have a whole media contingent in one section.
Right.
Then they have a conference room. I've watched so many episodes of West Wing. I know all about Air Force One. It's not a no-brainer. Actually, I don't even know if he really has a bed there. This was just a TV show.
I think he does. I think the shower is the most interesting thing. You shower on a plane. I mean, I guess easily, but
Yeah, I mean those new ones that fly like from here to the Mideast, like some of those like those first class cabins are insane, and there are definitely showers on
there's
those
showers
planes.
in there. Okay, I don't know. I'm not a first class rider.
Yeah, neither am I. We got to get on this. I mean, instead of middle seat on Southwest to,
Next to the bathroom.
Albuquerque.
I know a guy now. I'll put in a good word for you guys next time you
you.
travel.
Well, that's it for headline. No, what do you got for it?
Headlines are sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Looking for a career path with flexibility and great pay and benefits? Go to progressive.com/careers and apply online today.
Macarena has boyfriend who they call by the name of Vitorino.
Didn't miss that.
Peter
man.
Schwartz as Bane reading the Macarena.
Hey, Macarena.
Oh, my God.
So I shouldn't ever go away again? Is that the message here?
Or go away forever.
To be honest, though, we have to update you on a couple things that you've missed since you left. Not just the Schwartz thing, but there's something that could be involving you soon. So it'd only be fair. We'll tell you next hour.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Debatable intentional foul calls, an added bonus. Women's March Madness has never had this much juice, Pete. It's almost cliche to say it at this point, but we'll make an exception for Caitlin Clark.
In general, like the excitement around this tournament, like it's super cool. Like people are more excited about the women's side than the men's side, and I think that's obviously something that's really never been the case before, and it's cool to see how it's evolved. Like when I first started this when I was a freshman, like we couldn't even use the March Madness branding, and now to see this, and really it's just taken a whole nother level, and I expect it to continue to grow this year, and I think that's the coolest thing for myself.
And Clark is back on the floor tonight. She and her Hawkeyes facing 8th-seeded Washington for a spot in the Sweet 16. That one tips shortly after 8 Eastern. Last night, second-ranked Stanford survived number 7 Iowa State, 87-81 in overtime in the Portland 4 region. And number 5 Baylor knocked off 4th-ranked Virginia Tech, 75-72. To make the Sweet 16 for the first time in 3 seasons. The Baylor men not as lucky, losing their round of 32 game to Clemson in Memphis, 72-64. Scott Drew's team makes its 3rd consecutive second-round exit.
Such a great group. Our staff has just loved being with them each and every day, and they've done such a great job representing Baylor basketball, our university, community. So proud of them. And I hurt for them. I hurt that we won't be together with them.
Also from the West bracket, Alabama fought off number 12 Grand Canyon, 72-61. The Tide's 3rd Sweet 16 in 4 years. It was never close in Brooklyn. East number 1 UConn dumping Northwestern, 75-58 after Duke knocked out James Madison, 93-55. The only drama yesterday really in Memphis, where South number 1 Houston blew a 12-point lead with 2 minutes left in regulation, but then beat Texas A&M 195. In overtime, the Cougars get to play the Blue Devils in Dallas later this week. The Lakers outscored the Pacers last night 150-145, and the Warriors losing in Minnesota 114-110. Golden State just a 1-game lead now on the Rockets for 10th in the West. Shohei Ohtani will discuss the gambling drama engulfing him later today. And U.S. men's soccer, another 2-0 win over Mexico, this time to win the Nations League Cup for the 3rd time in a row. Guys, back to you.
Bogus, thank you so much for deigning us with your...
We'll see if I'm here in an hour.
With your appearance this morning. After a stint hanging out with the Nets, the NBA's Nets last week. Coming up, which contender are we buying on the men's side? Who's looked the best over the first 2 rounds of the tournament? We get to that next. Don't move. More Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, reacting to a big weekend in the NCAA tournament. You got more from the women tonight, but the men won't get back in action until Thursday. Perloff, the best-looking team on the men's side to you is who so far?
Hot take, UConn, the defending champions. I picked Auburn to beat them in the Sweet 16. Kind of wishful thinking in the sense that I wanted some chaos, and it doesn't feel like a chaos tournament. And what I saw, nobody looks more well-rounded and ready to go. There's no hangover from the championship. I had a stat since 2007, no number one seed has advanced past the Sweet 16. UConn's clearly going to blow that out, and they could become the first repeat champion since 2007. Feels like their tournament to lose. Do you have a team that jumps out?
It was Purdue to me. I mean, maybe it's the teams that we both didn't believe in as much are now the ones who are making us look silly, and Purdue is that one for me. You know, we had a conversation last week about Zach Edey and him being the two-time unanimous All-American. He's going to be the two-time Player of the Year on the men's side with 2 tournament wins to speak of. This is before this year's tournament started, and multiple losses to double-digit seeds, and how much of his career could be looked at as a disappointment if he didn't do better in this tournament. Well, it got off to a slightly slow start yesterday, but they ended up winning by 39. They won their opening round game by 28. I mean, Purdue, I give them a lot of credit because you lose to a 16 seed last year. It's got to be incredibly embarrassing and humbling and all of that. You add on top of it Matt Painter and Purdue's poor showing in the tournament and all the losses they've had to double-digit seeds going back to North Texas and FDU and St. Peter's, and they look like a completely different team. Now, can they pull off the UVA? I don't know, where you go from losing to a 16 seed one year and then win it all the next year. I'm not sure, but because Gonzaga, I think, looks a lot better than anyone thought. People thought Gonzaga was overseeded. It looks like that's not the case.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me that UConn has an easier road than Purdue. Purdue they're only 4-point favorites over Gonzaga. That feels like a game to me. Whereas
excited to watch it.
UConn, San Diego State, and then eventually UConn will get the winner of Illinois, Iowa State if they advance. And I know Iowa State's a top seed. It just feels like to me like UConn is rolling.
Purdue would get Tennessee if everything goes chalk.
Yeah, I still see the problems with Purdue. There was early in the game, Utah State had a strategy to pull Zach Edey out on the pick and roll. Zach Edey covers anyone under 6'5". It's an automatic bucket. The dude cannot move his feet. I'm sorry. I know he's the two-time player of the year, but come at me, EJ, he's a stiff on defense. He's just like Rudy Gobert. He's gigantic and is great around the rim, but he can't cover anyone outside. I think there are strategies that can neutralize Zach Edey. And the tournaments in the past have proven that. I'm still not buying Purdue because they beat Grambling State and Utah State. How do we know? And EJ, you know Gonzaga really well. Doesn't this feel like a really tight game coming?
It feels like a tight game, but Gonzaga's had trouble with Zach Edey, and he's killed them the 2 times they played them the last 2 years. So as great as Gonzaga is playing, and I think that they would be one of the teams I certainly would be excited about if you're looking at who can make a run. Not really excited about this particular matchup because Zach Edey has given them a lot of problems.
I mean, here's the thing, though. You can look at UConn. They beat Stetson. I mean, what are you talking about? And that's the thing. These first-round matchups are kind of designed to be very, very nice to the 1 seeds, which is why it's so incredible when they get upset. Obviously, it didn't happen this year. You know, the thing is about Purdue, it's funny about Edey. You're right, defensively. But offensively, he's not a stiff.
Yeah.
Now, EJ put out on social media over the weekend that Zach Edey will be a first-round pick. It's wild that we're even saying that might even be a take when the guy is a 2-time Naismith Player of the Year, most likely, and is a unanimous All-American. We're usually talking about that person going number 1 overall, maybe at least top 5.
Yep.
I mean, that's not going to happen. But I do think on the offensive side, he has improved his footwork. You know, I was critical of him last week, so I do want to give credit where it's due.
And I'll be honest. I mean, we talk about, he's going to get it exploited in pick-and-roll action. Maybe. Like, the way they put him in drop coverage, if you don't have a shooter, a big man who can shoot the ball, I actually don't know really how you exploit him.
They were doing it yesterday. There was a string of 8 straight Utah State points all on Zach Edey. Early in the game. That game was
it
really
didn't
close.
last very long because he dominated the rest of the game. I just think to play that style for 40 minutes against them and do it effectively is going to be very difficult because he's very good in drop coverage.
Well, Utah State got in foul trouble really early, and then they had no chance. And it's Utah State. They're not a powerhouse. I just am still nervous about Purdue, and it's history too. It's hard to get past that. And you say he's a first rounder. How high are we talking?
I think he goes somewhere between late lottery and late into the first round. I think he's somewhere in there. It's so early right now to tell, but I think someone who
do you think he'll have an impact in the NBA?
Yeah, I mean, I think someone who we've seen these bigger guys get drafted now. Okay, we saw the kid from Auburn, Walker Kessler, who's playing for Team USA this summer, get drafted. The NBA isn't as afraid of these 7-footers as we used to be. Mm-hmm. So I think Zach Edey has a place. I just think that it's going to have to be on a team that is definitely knows what they want for him to do. Kenny Smith had a good point. Kenny Smith said, look, this guy is a true 5. So maybe he plays 20 minutes a night playing a true 5. You probably can't play him 40 minutes a night. But if you want what he's going to bring you for 20 minutes, he could do it at a high level.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. I mean, these 1 seeds have just been dominant. I know last night it got a little tight for Houston, having to go to overtime. They only win by 5. But on average, the number 1 seeds have been winning these games by 26 points.
Right. I mean, to be honest, the team that I think the number 1 seed that I think a lot of people were expecting to get upset was North Carolina, and
they look great.
They looked fantastic.
Right, but history shows it doesn't matter what kind of blowout you have in the first 2 rounds. That doesn't necessarily mean anything moving forward. In fact, Houston is still second in the odds, and they battled. So again, we'll see. I'm just saying it's not going to be ones throughout. It never happens that way.
Coming up, Kim Mulkey taking aim at the Washington Post. What is going on with this story? The LSU women's coach fired up. We'll get to that next. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He thinks Frisbee golf is the sport of the future. She's sticking with football. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Well, Kim Mulkey getting the Washington Post in the crosshairs. Hey, welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Perloff, we didn't know that apparently the Washington Post is working on a story about Kim Mulkey. Now, this is the LSU head coach, fiery coach, just like we'd expect. She's definitely, had some, I would say run-ins, but she's definitely had some controversy with former players, including Brittany Griner. But Griner wrote about this in her book, right? It's been open. It's been out there. We have no idea what's going to be in this Washington Post story. Here's Mulkey, though, who took 4 minutes out of her press conference after LSU's first round win to go after the newspaper.
This reporter has been working on a story about me for 2 years. After 2 years of trying to get me to sit with him for an interview, he contacts LSU on Tuesday as we were getting ready for the first round game of this tournament with more than a dozen questions, demanding a response by Thursday, right before we're scheduled to tip off. Are you kidding me?
Okay, so 2 years. This reporter, Ken Babb, is the reporter from the Washington Post. Apparently has been trying to write a story about Kim Mulkey. And then it is generally, Perloff, you and I worked in this industry, so we know it is standard that you would send questions for someone to go on the record and defend themselves or whatever, give their side of the story before the publishing date. Now, it looks like he was trying to get her to cooperate for a long time. So the fact is there happens to be a deadline as you get closer to publishing. There you go. Here's more from Mulkey. Says she will sue the Washington Post if this story defames her.
I'm fed up, and I'm not going to let the Washington Post attack this university, this awesome team of young women I have, or me without a fight. I've hired the best defamation law firm in the country, and I will sue the Washington Post if they publish a false story about me.
Okay, well, here's the thing about defamation. You can't prove it if the things are true. So obviously, I don't think the Washington Post is going into this trying to print falsehoods now, but she said they're granting people anonymity to talk about her, without fear of reprisal or whatever. And so that is, but again, if they say things that can be corroborated by multiple sources, then you're not going to be able to prove defamation. Here's the thing about this. I don't like it. I don't like it from Mulkey. We have no idea what's in the story, and you just took 4 minutes to make this about you. It's about your players at this point of the tournament. And we know she loves the spotlight, the outfits, and all of that. But why you would bring more attention to this, I get you want to defend yourself. Wait till the piece comes out. And then if you want to defend yourself, do it. I hate the fact that she brought this on herself herself, I don't care, but about the teammates. It should be about these young women at this part of the tournament, not about Kim Mulkey's reputation.
Yeah, but the funny thing is it seems to be having a positive effect in the sense that LSU seems like one of those teams who circles the wagons. And I know that Angel Reese, their star, is very tight with Kim Mulkey. You saw that. They were trailing yesterday or whatever they played, and they rallied. And it seems like there's like a lot of energy around that team, us against them. So it's funny. This team is one team where this could actually work, where they might get fired up to back up their coach.
Okay, but if you feel like you're a coach and you need this to be the us against them, you don't have another thing you can go to?
That was their thing last year, and it led them all the way to a title.
Okay, but it feels kind of cheap. Because, you're going out there claiming these big things. I'm going to sue the Washington Post. First of all, again, let's see what's here. And you're making it about you. I mean, you don't have another motivational tactic that if this indeed is that, right, to get everyone to circle the wagons and to get everyone behind her. Like, how about your coaching gets your players behind you? Not having to take on the media. It's so tired.
I see what you're saying. I don't think it's a intentional strategy here I think she is defending herself. But the thing about Kim Mulkey is that's kind of what you get, right? You get a very out there person already. So don't you expect her to act like this? That's the thing. And it's worked in the past. She's won multiple national titles. Sure. She's obviously a very good coach.
Yep.
I think I'm not defending her by any means, and I have no idea what's in the story, and I can't wait to read it just like everyone else. But this seems to be the way Kim Mulkey operates, and her players love her.
Yeah.
And she kind of has these people outside the program who don't like her. and it's worked for them in the past. And LSU's coming into this as a 3 seed. No one's really talking about them as a potential champion. Maybe this rallies them to some extent. And I could see the story being terrible and the team playing harder for their coach. I mean, that's plausible, won't you admit?
I'll be honest. I mean, I didn't think much of the story. So I saw Pat Forty tweeted out over the weekend, it looks like the Washington Post is working on a big story on Kim Mulkey, right? So that one reporter kind of tipped off that this story was coming. No one ever knew that this was coming. And I think everyone is kind of willing, listen, we're sports fans. I do think we are willing to say, hey, we'll still watch this. We can watch this product. We can, root for the woman on the team. You can even root for Mulkey. Let's see what happens. Let's give them, I do think at some points we do give, I don't say a benefit of the doubt to Kim Mulkey. I'm just saying we would have waited for the piece to come out before anyone made a comment. It was her, the coach, coming out full force. She looks kind of like this sort of paranoid. I don't know. Like she looks like she is. It made it seem like the piece is going to be really, really bad. So now we're all waiting on pins and needles. She's so worried about the Washington Post. You just sold their newspapers for them. Yeah. I mean, if you really didn't like the media, why are you trying to buy in and give them this? You can always defend yourself after the fact. And by the way, if it goes to a defamation lawsuit, this thing is going to go on for a year. Or more. But
that's the other thing, too. They're a major newspaper. They know what defamation lawsuits are all about. And she might have the best defamation lawyer ever. You're right. This probably won't go anywhere in court. But that being said, this is Kim Mulkey's thing. She's just out there. I'm just judging on the album. I'm not a Kim Mulkey expert, but it doesn't seem like she holds back in any sense. She's very... what's the word? Authentic, I guess, is a positive way to put it. But it doesn't feel like she has a capability of holding back.
Right.
I've never seen her as a holdback type.
No. She's not a holdbacker. I think the other part, too, is, at least publicly, some of the things that we know about Kim Mulkey that you would call like controversial, if you will, is, again, what happened with Brittany Griner. And again, we're talking about Kim Mulkey goes on a 4-minute tirade rant against the Washington Post because they are publishing a story about her. Which they haven't done yet. The thing about Brittany Griner, Griner wrote about that in her book. This is something where she told Kim Mulkey that she was gay, and Kim Mulkey said she totally understood that and accepted her for it, but Baylor has some bylaws because they are such a religious institution that forbids this. And she alleges, Brittany is, that Kim Mulkey told her to keep her sexuality quiet and to keep it hidden because it could hurt Baylor in recruiting and other things. And Brittany Griner took a huge exception with that. She wanted to be herself. She wanted to be out. She wanted to be proud about it. And she felt like the coach didn't have her back. Then Brittany Griner gets into the situation where she's detained in a Russian prison at the start of the war with Ukraine. And Kim Mulkey never offered any kind of, support or anything. Now, Brittany Griner's I believe she already got her jersey retired at Baylor, so I think the school and the player have mended the fences, obviously, but clearly there's a lot of bad blood. Again, we know about this, though. It's been written about. It's been asked about. So whatever's in this story, if Kim Mulkey is going to come out with this full throttle defense, you have to imagine it's something different than what we already know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be recruiting violations. It's got to be something serious. I would almost say, I get the sense it'll be something criminal related or adjacent. It can't just be a basketball story.
It might be. Who knows?
That she's verbally abusive as a coach. I mean, listen, that's old school coaching style. We were all around for Bobby Knight, who was as verbally abusive as they came, and eventually it wore out. I'm curious which direction this story goes. You're absolutely right about one thing. Everybody wants to read this Washington Post story now.
Right.
But the Washington Post and Kim Mulkey, you can't, there's obviously going to be political undertones. She got kind of political during the pandemic, and the Washington Post is quite a political paper. So the two of those, you're going to have an undertone of that, which is funny. This is Caitlin Clark's tournament, and once again, LSU is stealing the headlines. I think this story could become the story of the tournament, which is a shame because we want to see it basketball. But Kim Mulkey, what she said definitely elevated the story. No matter what's in here now, when it comes out, it's going to be what everyone's talking about.
Yeah. This is why it's like, Kim Mulkey said, like, this is why people don't like the media, like, because she thinks this is going to be a hatchet job. It's like, no, this is where famous people need other people around them to tell them, don't do this. Don't spend 4 minutes. She came in with the notes and all of that. It's just the total wrong strategy, in my opinion, that she should have done because she just put a cloud over her team. Let's just see. The story didn't even come out yet. It's supposed to come out last week or whatever, or maybe early this week. We'll see what happens, but it's not there yet. 855-212-4CBS. Make it about your players. Not about your legacy, where you're a multi-time champion, Hall of Fame, all that stuff.
I hear you, but when you dress like that, it's obviously going to be a little bit about you, too. And not to mention, I like the fact that her assistants are now dressing like that, too.
Everyone's dressing like. She's kind of she's got like a cult following.
Yeah, I mean, and the funny thing is she has receipts too. That's why we're taking this seriously. If she wasn't a championship winning coach, it wouldn't matter. This is fascinating. We want to see LSU and Iowa face each other in the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
We've been talking a lot about TV ratings of the men's and women's tournament. That would be a big rating. If the story comes out and they're facing Iowa at a rematch of last year's title game, that would be a very interesting game.
You think?
Yeah.
Would that get a higher rating than any early
Easily.
round for the men's side until we get to the Final Four?
I'll make a show, but that will beat any men's game, including the title game, by $5 million. It'll get 15 to 20 million. Last year's game got 10.5 million. I think it was way more than the men's championship. And I think it'd be like a football game.
Wait, didn't we do this last week? Talk about the ratings.
Well, look, the men. Well, we didn't have the full ratings, but the men's tournament so far has been the most watched tournament ever. So I think we might have to pump the brakes on the.
That's what I was thinking.
Well, what was last year? Oh, if LSU plays Iowa, you think that the men's final will get more eyeballs?
I'm saying right now, what I said was this has been the most watched men's tournament.
Yeah.
And I think when this ratings come off for the women, I don't think we're going to see what Caitlin Clark said earlier in the show, which is that people are more interested in the women's tournament than the men's, at least not in the first two rounds.
Okay.
I don't know what happens in the Final Four, but I think that the demise of the men's tournament was greatly exaggerated.
Show bet though, Iowa playing LSU, I think would do a bigger number than any.
Do you think it has anything to do with what's in this Washington Post?
Oh my God, you're gonna have the Washington Post story come out, and it's the rematch of that was one of the number one stories, Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark. Last year. Yeah, I think, and that by the way, the men's rating could be really good. I think this rating is going to be gigantic, like a Duke in a final game kind of rating.
We'll get to
maybe I could be wrong, but I think who would not tune in to see this game?
Oh yeah, we'll get to the men's side in a moment because of the idea that we were going to have FAU in the Final Four from now till the end of time, and I don't mean to pick on FAU. San Diego State's still in it, but the Blue Bloods have shown up.
Yeah, because now they're basically mid-majors with a bunch of old non-NBA players.
855-212-4CBS. Kim Mulkey, in the right or in the wrong to try to get in front of whatever's in this Washington Post story? Do you like the fact that she came out and started to defend herself, or do you think that she should have waited for the piece to come out before she drew more attention to the piece? Now we're all waiting. What's in it?
It's weird because on the one hand, I think that this is an unfortunate distraction from the women's tournament for sure. Because the play on the court is enough to bring people hooked. Again, there's a lot of great play happening.
Yeah.
But we all love villains, as we talked about last week on the show when we had our great debate on who's the greatest villains of college basketball. And, I mean, we came into this tournament. I know a lot of people already probably didn't love LSU because of Kim Mulkey. But, I mean, you really want to create a heel for this tournament? I mean, this has been they wore that black hat once again when Mulkey came out with that statement. Is there any way that actually helps the tournament?
Well, helps the tournament? I know Perloff thinks 100%. It helps LSU.
No, it 100% helps the ratings. If you're looking for ratings, yes, of course this helps the tournament.
It does.
Right, the bad guy, as you mentioned.
Right.
But let's see what's in the piece.
And by the way, she's not a bad guy to a lot of people, too.
No,
there are a
she's
lot
not.
of people are on her side who think there are a lot of people who don't like the media right now. You can't avoid that.
Oh,
fact.
I get that. But I guess it's more what EJ's saying, the villain. It's like the defiant one. It doesn't, no matter, you could love that. You could love how defiant she is, but she's definitely just came and brought a flamethrower to this whole thing. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Okay, you're welcome to weigh in on that. Coming up, it's more than just basketball going on around here when it comes to March Madness. We've got that in just a moment. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff, discussing the upcoming Washington Post story on LSU coach Kim Mulkey. So Pat Forty tweeted it this weekend that Washington Post was working on a piece on Kim Mulkey and that LSU was circling the wagons, trying to contain it already. So now Kim Mulkey seems to have made what is possibly an interesting story into the story of the women's tournament. Maybe, well, Caitlin Clark is still the story, but this is right behind it. I think it's just picking up momentum. Maggie, you had a good point. I'm not sure Kim Mulkey achieved what she wanted to here.
No, she goes out and rails against the story preemptively, and now everyone is even that much more curious about what could be in the story. This is going to be one of the highest read stories probably for the year for the Washington Post. So if you don't like this reporter, congratulations. You probably got him some kind of bonus. I mean, I don't know how their salary structure works, but you know what I'm saying. Tim is in San Diego, has a thought on it. Good morning, Tim.
Hey, good morning, Maggie. Good morning, Perloff. Yeah, I don't follow female college basketball. I've never even heard of Kim Mulkey, but like just to prove your point, Maggie, now I'm definitely going to read this story with the Washington Post, and I probably would have never even read it if she didn't try to get ahead of it and just broadcast it and advertise it.
I tell you, are she and Ken Babb writing a book together? I mean, this would be the all-time work, WWE style. Tim, thank you for the call. If somehow they're actually working together behind the scenes, I don't think so, but man, would that be something.
That being said, by the way, it's a Washington Post. I hope clicks is not their metric.
No, clicks aren't the metric.
Yeah, it's not BuzzFeed.
No, it's not. I know they're not aggregating, doing top 10 lists and stuff like that. But that it's going to drive significant traffic. I mean, if you have someone like Tim who just called in and wants to read it, he's going to have to sign up for a subscription to do that. So,
it's kind of sad that we're saying talking about Washington Post driving traffic like it's some mom and pop website.
No, but it's interesting. I think you're going to get a lot of people who may not already subscribe.
Well, I think that's what the critics are going to say is, you're going after, you're doing this because you're getting attention.
I know, but but what I would push back on that is she's a public figure who's been coaching for 20 years. Of course, people might dig around in her public record.
And they just happen to be releasing this story when LSU's about to face off with Caitlin Clark. It's obviously Washington Post. It's a business. They have to do it like this.
Yeah, it
does seem that is going to be the criticism. Oh, you put this out right before the Iowa game, if that's what happens.
No doubt. I mean, yes, if you do this in the middle of the summer, does it get the eyeballs? It depends what's in the story.
It could get the Pulitzer, but this is going to be ultimate. They're doing it's intentional, obviously, to let that out, which makes sense. I mean,
the timing is intentional for sure, but the other part is we got to see what's in the story. Is it one of those stories that could have been written any time of year and it would have become front page news, or is it going to be, we don't know. We have no idea. But now everyone's way more interested because Kim Mulkey went on a diatribe for 4 minutes saying how the Washington Post is out to get her.
Yeah, and also, too, I think the Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark thing is not that long ago. That was last year.
Yep.
And to see them play each other, I think it'd be also just a pure basketball. This could be a great tournament run. I can't wait to see that game. I would love to see LSU's a 3 seed. I mean, do we even know who win that? It doesn't feel. I know Iowa's a 1 seed, but it doesn't feel that'd be a tough challenge to win this game again. Man, this could be this to me is going to blow away everything else. I think this game is going to be the game. This story combined with Caitlin Clark. I mean, look at we started the show talking about my silly Caitlin Clark tweet turned into a national phenomenon.
I mean,
that's
you
Andrew
went viral.
Perloff. That's Andrew Perloff and Caitlin Clark because I said that there was no flagrant foul.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Angel Reese, Kim Mulkey, Caitlin Clark? That is a recipe for gigantic attention.
I mean, also, there's going viral, then there's what you did. I mean, I think going viral now is what, 1 million views? Something like that?
No.
You're 17 million views right now.
Well, reality, it's once you get into the For You algorithm, that you could get 17 million by sneezing. I've seen.
I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder. Rex Chapman, our buddy, who was on the show last week, tweeted this. He was not very kind about it, I might say.
Yeah, he definitely had an issue with your tweet.
Yeah, so but
he basically just said, "Andrew, come on."
But it's a reflection of Caitlin Clark. If this was some random game on the men's or women's side, say it was the Creighton game, there's no 17 million. It's Caitlin Clark, that's why I'm telling you, this is going to be not Super Bowl ratings. If LSU and Kim Mulkey face Caitlin Clark, it'll be the highest rated women's game of all time. Can we agree on that?
I'll give you that, but you said it'd be higher rated than the men's Final Four and championship game.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. I don't even think it's going to be close. I mean,
it's possible you have UNC and Duke in the final game. You don't think that would be massive?
I mean, that's a huge leap. We've gone through 2 rounds.
One's a 1 seed and one's a 4 seed, and Duke is destroying teams.
Oh, okay. Well, if it's UNC and Duke is one thing, but it's going to be UConn, isn't it?
UConn looks great, but North Carolina looks great. Still got a lot of basketball to play. Meanwhile,
it could be North Carolina Duke. Okay, I'll bet
I'm just saying they're on opposite sides of the bracket. Like, it could happen.
Yeah, that's a pretty big could. I will bet you, show bet, and I don't know if these ratings, that if LSU plays Iowa, which is still an if,
right,
that is higher rated
than any game on the men's side.
Than any game on the men's side.
That's an Elite Eight game, by the way, just for the audience as well. It won't be a Final Four or a national championship game.
Yeah.
I'll take that bet.
I think that, again, the women's game's been awesome, but I think there was a lot of narratives that were crushed about where the men's and women's game compares in terms of eyeballs. That I can't say that for sure. That an Elite Eight game is gonna beat a national title game. You said early by 5 million. There's no way that's happening.
No, I'll take that bet against you, Perloff. I think the men's game is still going to outrate the women's game. But yes, it's going to be massive if Iowa and LSU meet. But I think the men's game's still going to beat it.
Last year, Iowa,
which is not a knock on the women's game, by the way. You know, that's I don't think that's a negative. I just think you still have so many big programs left on the men's side. This is not like last year. We've got all 4 number 1 seeds. We've got all 4 number 2 seeds. Half the number 3s and Duke still here, plus EJ's Gonzaga Bulldogs. You have a lot of name brands.
Okay, so you guys are right in one sense. Last year's men's final got 14 million, which was like the lowest in a long, long time. But the Iowa game got 9.9 million. I just think that number has gone up. There's so much more attention on Caitlin Clark now. I think those ratings are going to increase. And I don't think UConn's definitely not a big draw. I mean, they're not Duke. If you get Duke and North Carolina, all bets are off. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be UConn and, I don't know, Houston. If it's UConn-Houston, I will take Iowa to outrate them. I want to do a bet. Let's do it.
Okay.
Dumbest bet ever. TV ratings aren't even
real. But sure, I'll take that bet for you. Okay, so while we are talking about actual basketball, we do have to get to the Maggie and Perloff bracket of one-hit wonders, Perloff, because we are on to the Sweet 16 in the Maggie and Perloff bracket. Are you ready for some results and from some matchups going into the Sweet 16? Guys, we're ready too? All right, let's do it. It was the upset of the first round. It was the 16 seed. Tainted Love moves on.
Once I ran to you, now I run from you. This tainted love you've given, I give you all a boy could give you. Take my tears and that's not nearly all. Tainted love.
Okay. There we go. Tainted Love goes up against 8th-seeded Macarena.
And when he left to sign up for the army, she was giving it away to his 2 friends. Give a little love into your body, Macarena, because your body's made for love and feeling good. It's a no-brainer. Give a little love into your body, Macarena. Hey, Macarena.
Hey.
Yeah, sounds just like the original. That was Peter Schwartz doing the Macarena. I'm sorry, we're not on to the Sweet 16. Yeah. We are through the first round. Pardon me.
Pretty big 1-8 matchup because Macarena's got a lot of name recognition. We've all danced the Macarena.
Yes, we have. So I'm sorry, this is round 2. I jumped the gun a little bit. We're not to the Sweet 16. So Tainted Love against Macarena. Going up, next up in the weddings region of the Maggie and Perloff one-hit wonder bracket, 5th-seeded Jump Around.
I came to get down, so get out your seat and jump around. Jump around. Jump around. Jump around. Jump up and get down. Jump, jump, jump. Everybody jump.
Okay, 5th-seed Jump Around going up against 4th-seeded Ice Ice Baby.
You better gangway. You better hit the bullseyes. The kid don't play and there's a problem. Yo, I'll solve it. Check out the hook while my DJ revolves it. Ice, Ice Baby.
Yes, we're not sure if EJ's ever heard Ice Ice Baby before he had to sing it on Friday. Just take our word for it. Ice Ice Baby did advance.
It might just be a bad song, too. That is possible in EJ's defense.
Likely.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with whether it's bad or not. That was atrocious. Again, EJ, many talents. Singing Ice Ice Baby, not one of them. 11-seeded Funky Town gets through. Okay, they go up against 3rd-seeded Whoop, There It Is. Thank you, DJ Pete Bellotti. We are going through round 2 of our bracket of one-hit wonders. This is the weddings region. Finally, 7-seeded Teach Me How to Dougie.
Teach me how to Doug. Teach me how to Doug. Teach me how to Doug. Everybody love me. Everybody love me. Everybody love me. You ain't messing with my Dougie. Teach me how to Doug. 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 Everybody love me. Everybody.
Okay, and Teach Me How to Dougie will face off against the 15 seed, another big upset from the first round. Pump Up the Jam moves on. Okay, there you have it. So this is the second round we're on to already. Wow, time flies. We're on to the second round of the Maggie and Perloff one-hit wonder.
Feels like it's been around a long time.
We didn't listen to these songs for a while.
I was in the car this weekend, and my wife and I put on 80s one-hit wonders playlist.
Oh, yeah?
And that's all we've been doing now. Because these songs were stuck in my head, and it's so much fun. Big debate. Wang Chung, did they have more than one hit? Apparently so, because my wife's like, how come Wang Chung's not on this list?
Oh, everyone Wang Chung tonight?
Everyone Wang Chung tonight.
Was by a band called Wang Chung?
I think so.
Is it? Yeah. I don't know. I never knew.
Yeah, but they had another number one hit, Dance Hall Dance.
That's right.
So, yeah, Wang Chung, by the way, great movie song. So this was my weekend.
Wow. That and going viral off of Caitlin Clark. That and 17 million views on Perloff saying Caitlin Clark should not have gotten a flagrant foul or intentional foul, pardon me, when she got hit in the face against Holy Cross. Okay, so you can go to our social at Maggie and Pearl. You can vote now. Round 2, the weddings region. Go ahead. Who do we think advances from this?
Well, I think Funky Town has a lot of name recognition. Everyone knows that song, and not a single person knows who wrote it or sang it. I don't think you said it. I have no idea.
Lips Inc.
Lips Inc. Yeah, I think Funky Town is a strong contender. I'm realizing in this bracket, name recognition is a big deal. Like you know the song, but you might not know what it's called.
That's a major criteria of a one-hit wonder is not exactly knowing what the name of the song is.
Yes.
Definitely. Andrew Bogish has headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. And it appears the song is called Everybody Have Fun Tonight by Wang Chung.
Oh, Everybody Wang Chung Tonight.
Yeah, there's just a line in the song. But
What do you think they're talking about?
There's an explanation of that as well.
I'm just kidding.
Isn't there a line? This feels like a Cheers joke where Fraser Crane sings the lyrics to Wang Chung and it went viral 1992 style. Anyway.
What does that mean? How do you go viral in 92?
Wang Chung's been in several TV shows and movies.
Yeah.
They're a great band. Everybody Wang Chung Tonight.
Across the nation, around the world. Everybody have fun tonight.
Bellotti knows what I'm talking about.
Of course he does. Yes. Is that the company you want to keep, though?
Bellotti said this is like his Spotify playlist.
Yeah.
His one-hit wonders.
Including the Schwartz version of the
Yeah. That's now in heavy rotation.
The Purdue men had no real issues yesterday in round 2. They thumped Utah State 106-67, and their fans in their seats when the game tipped off. That wasn't the case on Friday when the afternoon session in Indy ran long. The arena had to be cleaned, reset before the night crowd was allowed in, so Boilermaker fans laid getting to those seats for the Grambling State showdown. This was head coach Matt Painter postgame.
It was great, especially when they got into the stands. Like, you're starting a game and people are filing in. Like, it's kind of surreal, right? Like, you would think you start a game and, everyone's going to be there. It's like a major city crowd, right? Like going to L.A. to an event or people show up by the 4th inning.
I guess people.
What is he, the homeroom teacher? What are you talking about?
Yeah, and I've seen this a bazillion times covering tennis when the day session goes long and the night session, and you can see people waiting, but they got to clean, they got to restock. Like this is a weird complaint. Like this happens. Like deal with it. And you're playing Grambling. It was okay.
Yeah, I don't know. This is an odd one. Again, he feels like he's sort of like wagging the finger at the fans.
But the NCAA's got to figure this out, though, because this was not the only game where you're starting a game coming into the night session and there's nobody in the crowd. I mean, I think he was a little sensitive because it wasn't basically a home game. I mean, Indianapolis, West Lafayette, like they worked hard to get this home court advantage, and you can't get the people in the building. There were great pictures of like literally it looked like a mob of people standing outside the arena being like, "Hey, they're not letting us in." I know it's a lot of the TV people, which is their fault because they don't schedule this correctly, but I do think they got to figure something out. It should not be where there's no one in the stands for the 1 seed beginning their quest to hopefully to a Final Four.
I know, but this literally falls on deaf ears now because you're not going to have that issue anymore. Right?
Yeah, but you're going to have the issue next year. And there's going to be more coaches will complain next year again, and we're going to hear it probably every year.
But isn't the problem that Colorado and Florida played that ridiculous 102-100 game before them on Friday?
Right, but that was not the only game because I saw people complaining about other games where they were not able to file the people in for the second session. So it wasn't just that game. And again, it just comes down to you should the night games I believe are set kind of not in stone per se, but they are rather.
Yeah, for the
so
most
they're
part.
set in stone. So there is no this game went late, so let's amend the schedule to make it work. We can get the people in. Maybe it should be more amendable, just like the first weekend games are. The second game in the region should be amendable, where you say, "Hey, okay, we're late. We're gonna hold the game back so we get the crowd in."
You and Matt Painter.
I don't know why it can't be amendable. I don't get that whole thing.
Well, because if you delay the first game, then the second coach will complain about tipping off after 10 o'clock local time.
All right, get lost. All right, really, you're playing.
So pick whose complaints you want to hear more.
No, play at 10 o'clock. It's not like you guys don't stay up at 10 o'clock. It's not like you have a bedtime at 10 o'clock. All right, so play the game when it's on the schedule. There's 64 teams in a tournament. All right?
You guys want 100. We're going to be playing all night. You tip off at 2 a.m.
I'd rather have less. I'd rather have less teams than have teams complaining about their start times. Get lost.
You know what? Can I take the attention off here for me? I hated that there were no afternoon games yesterday. They all played at night.
Me too. I hate this schedule.
What the heck?
I dislike the schedule too.
Sunday they should have scaled the games back towards the afternoon.
Also, does the NFL teach people nothing?
Yeah,
we
great
just
point.
want them to start. We want them to start early. Let's go, because you had 2 games on Saturday and Sunday if you were just on the men's side, not watching the women's side, and they were not games.
Exactly.
They were blowouts. So what are we watching?
What was weird too, though, is that some of the time differences didn't seem to make sense. Like Gonzaga and Arizona, who won, they're playing early afternoon games. They're in Salt Lake City. Those were 11 a.m. starts for Arizona local time. And shout out to the people in Salt Lake City. They got there. Spokane also had a lot of early games, and the crowd was there. Spokane was awesome. But why are those West Coast teams starting the day off with the games when you should probably be starting with the East region teams? I don't really get that.
It doesn't make any sense.
It also drives me nuts too that when you're at one of these events and you want to ask a question of a player, they're student athletes, and the NCAA will yell at you for not calling them that. And then they've got Yale playing at 9:45 Eastern tip across the country because they're scholar athletes and they don't need to go to class today.
Yeah.
Nothing says we care less about school than playing a late night Sunday tip in the NCAA tournament where you've got no chance of going to class on Monday.
I heard someone yesterday was talking about the team from Yale. They were previewing the game, and it was a friend of mine, and they do an awesome job. Can you believe that Yale's leading scorer already has an internship lined up on Wall Street for the summer? It's yes, that is the most believable thing I've ever heard about this tournament. Who do you think is working on Wall Street? A lot of Ivy League athletes, former athletes.
The news would be if he was still on LinkedIn looking for an internship.
If he hadn't gotten one yet.
Right. Somebody help poor August Mahoney out.
Yeah, no, this dude's going to get the internship. It's wow, can you believe he's going to go work at JP Morgan? Yes.
Well, I mean,
Yes, I
he's
can.
competing with several Ivy League lacrosse programs. 80% of Wall Street is lacrosse
It is
players.
really cutthroat.
Back to the hoops yesterday. South #1, Houston barely surviving round 2, leading 81-69 late in regulation, but having to go to overtime to beat Texas A&M 195. Jamal Shedd had 21 points and 10 assists. UConn, Duke, San Diego State all winning easily yesterday. Alabama fought off Grand Canyon 72-61 in a 4-12 game in the West bracket. And number 6 Clemson sent third-seeded Baylor home 72-64. The Tigers in the Sweet 16 for just the second time in Brad Brownell's 14 seasons as head coach. From the women's bracket last night, Stanford star Cameron Brink fouled out, but her second-seeded Cardinal fought off Iowa State in overtime 87-81. There's coaching news from yesterday as well. Michigan officially hiring FAU's Dusty May, and West Virginia set to bring in Drake's Darian DeVries, and he's expected to bring his high-scoring son Tucker with him to Morgantown. And then There are the pros.
Behind the back pass out to Middleton with 2 to shoot. A 30-foot three. Back rim miss. Long rebound out to Patrick Beverly, though. And a reset out to Lillard. Left side three is good by Damian Lillard. 25-point lead again, 98-73. Damian Lillard has hit a couple from long range here in this fourth quarter.
That's Bucks Radio. Lillard put in the finishing touches on a 118-93 rout of Chet Holmgren of the Thunder. Giannis had 30 points and 19 boards. New Patriots head coach Gerard Mayo said yesterday QB is a priority for the organization, but they are open to anything, including a trade at number 3 in the draft next month. Tyler Adams, Gio Reyna scored as the U.S. beat Mexico 2-0 in Dallas to win the Nations League crown for the 3rd time in a row. Guys, back to you.
Oh, man, I cannot wait. If Jacoby Brissett is going to be the Patriots quarterback next year, that's going to be an electric team. No receivers, a bridge quarterback with nobody behind him on the bridge. This is going to be the draft story if New England does not take a quarterback at 3.
The receiving core is looking up, okay? Because I don't know if you saw yesterday, they're selling Devontae Parker's jersey literally for nothing. There was there was a photo out on Twitter where someone went to a shop in Boston and Devontae Parker's jersey was there. Literally said 0.00 cost.
You just walk out with it.
So you can just take it. It was free.
Do you even get a receipt for that?
It's a great question. I don't know. I'd never seen that before. So look, if you had a receiving core before where they're selling jerseys for nothing, I think they can do maybe a little better this year.
They were actually even printing Devontae Parker jerseys?
Couldn't believe it myself.
They got KJ Osborne. I just think with Jacoby Brissett, did we see this 10 years ago?
And like 5 years ago and 3 years ago. What's the tax? Could you pay taxes on a free jersey? You have to give them like 8 cents on your way out the door?
Maybe.
How does that work?
Yeah, that'd be funny.
Yeah.
What if you could try to return it? Like, I'm sorry, like to exchange.
Store credit.
Sorry, I thought you were still on the team. My bad.
Oh, man. Bogish, thank you.
Did you secretly just try and sell us KJ Osborne there?
I'm just telling you.
Mister, I accidentally took him in my fantasy draft. No, they have Kendrick Bourne, Demario Douglas, Juju will be back, KJ Osborne, Jalen Reagor. I mean, this is wild.
Can you imagine if they actually don't take a quarterback? How silly are they going to look?
I mean,
even if he's not good, why would you do that?
Because look who he's throwing to. You are setting up some poor dude for a complete failure.
Okay, so if you take Marvin Harrison, who's he catching passes from?
You got to trade down.
Robert Kraft's got a lot to answer for. Like Gerard Mayo went on that first press conference and said we got money to spend, or money to burn rather, and they have nothing to show for it.
Well, they made a couple mistakes. First off, he basically said they were going to draft a quarterback when he was also doing the introductory press conference. Turns out that's not true. Then they're like, we got money to burn. We haven't seen them do anything. I don't think it's as appealing a place to play. And I don't know if it would have been with Belichick still there either. So this is not a criticism on Gerard Mayo per se, but this is life without what life is like after 2 Hall of Famers.
Well, it got bad last year with one of those Hall of Famers there. Teams rebuild. I mean, that's a reality, but do they have time to rebuild? Look, I mean, this should take 5 years.
Why wouldn't you take a quarterback? That's what I don't understand.
Because
unless you really don't like this evaluation on Drake May or Jaden Daniels, okay, but just to pass on them to try to play the game of the trade back and all that?
It's all Bryce Young. They just do not. And so the guy, their GM, Elliot Wolf, has seen this before where if you draft a guy and you don't have weapons for him, it could go very badly.
Bryce Young has some other things working against him, though.
Yeah, but I mean, that receiving core has got to be the number one thing. And I don't care. Caleb Williams combined with Lamar Jackson is not going to work in Carolina.
Okay, let's put a pin in that for a second. Let's get back to that conversation in just moments. We will do that, get to the Patriots. Coming up, though, we do have Perloff's draft rumor of the day. This is going to be one of our new segments leading up to the draft because you love draft rumors.
Yeah, and when you say rumor, that means not a fact, a rumor. I have a sort of a large span of things to say here.
Okay. It's not like Kim Mulkey. When you get defensive before we haven't even done it yet.
I'm just saying.
Another hit
piece.
piece.
Caitlin Ma back out on him.
It's lying season, so I am going to feel free to share something that may or may not be true about the draft.
We want to hear all of it. 855-212-4CBS. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break.
just be babies? Why can't baby just be babies? Why can't baby just be babies? Why can't baby just be babies? Why can't...
In a world where enlightenment comes from the depths of caves and the depths of consciousness, one man emerges with a newfound clarity. It's the one, the only me, Aaron Rodgers. That's right, folks. Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback turned cave-dwelling mystic, has returned from his spiritual journey to shed light on the cosmic truths that elude us. I've delved into the depths of the earth and the depths of my own mind, and let me tell you, the revelations are mind-blowing. It's time to bring the wisdom of the cave and the wisdom of the jungle to the forefront. With me as your vice president, you can expect a leader who's not afraid to embrace the unconventional path to enlightenment. I'm not just a quarterback, I'm a sage who sipped from the sacred brew of ayahuasca and communed with the spirits of the cosmos. So, this election, let's make transcendence the ultimate victory. Vote Aaron Rodgers for vice president, and let's embark on a journey of spiritual awakening for America. Paid for by the committee to elect Aaron Rodgers for vice president. Seekers of truth and enlightenment. In a world where enlightenment... seconds remaining. Break ends in 5 seconds.
All right, back on Maggie and Perloff. You know what time it is, Maggie. It's Perloff draft rumor time. And when we say draft rumor, that means something that may or may not be fact, because draft season is lying season in the NFL. Heard this from Mel Kiper over the weekend. Mel Kiper sees a perfect fit for a quarterback and a first-round team. The Denver Broncos right now have Jarrett Stidham starting, so a lot of people think they'll draft a quarterback. He thinks that Bo Nix is the reincarnation of former Sean Payton quarterback Drew Brees. Now, there's some obvious things that are similar. Bo Nix, very accurate at Oregon, 77%. Doesn't throw picks. He has some athleticism. Brees did early, maybe not later, but he can play in the pocket. So the Broncos sit at number 12, and they probably would take a quarterback in the first round because they don't have a second-round pick. So they can't risk Nix falling down there. Now, here's the reason I completely buy this.
Okay.
Apparently, Bo Nix and Drew Brees have the same exact hand size, according to Kiper. 10 and 1/8.
Well, that's no rumor. That's a fact, right?
So we all know that quarterbacks go in the draft according to hand size. Kenny Pickett, small hands, did not work out. No accident. Bo Nix, Drew Brees, Sean Payton sitting there and saying the dudes have the same hand. They're hand twins, Maggie. Hand twins is an important part of being a draft comp. I think this is going to happen. I didn't think so. I didn't think Knicks was going to go that high until I heard about the hand thing with Drew Brees.
Yeah.
This is happening.
You don't think that you think they can stay at 12 and still get Knicks, or do you think the draft process is going to push him up a little bit?
Isn't that amazing that we're talking about this? Because Bo Nix was never thought to be a first-round pick.
Okay, but if you're getting Drew Brees, I mean, he should go number one.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I do think that there's going to be a rush on these quarterbacks. It does seem 12 seems rich for Bo Nix. He's a little older. He's 23. He wasn't that good at Arbor, and then he got great at Oregon. So people are going to say, oh, it's the system. I think that you should be okay at 12. We know that it's going to go 4 guys in the top 10 because J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan will join Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and Caleb Williams. Then you got the 2 X's, the 2 X factors.
Right.
Michael Penix and Bo Nix.
Right.
Get it, X?
Yeah.
You see that?
Really
dad joke draft analysis?
Majorly clever.
Yeah, it's super cool. Anyway, 12 seems like 12's not that low. I mean, there are a lot of great tackles and wide receivers here. If they had to trade up for Bo Nix, I'd be shocked.
I don't know what is going on with Denver because here's the thing. I know that their receiver corps is maybe a little bit better than the New England Patriots, who have maybe the worst. But are you also rebuilding? Like, are you shoehorning a quarterback in here, or what are we doing? Because I don't get the Broncos' strategy.
Well, you're not going to go. I actually, of course, a big Jarrett Stidham fan, but you're not going to just start Stidham and not draft somebody. That would be. They didn't do anything really in free agency. And I think a lot of draft analysts are penciling them in at quarterback. Their receiver core is way, way better than New England. They got Cortland Sutton, Marvin Mims, Tim Patrick's coming back.
No, you do. I guess I'm just saying, actually, just as we speak, apparently Sean Payton is at the owners' meetings right now.
Oh, yeah.
And said that they could also add a veteran quarterback
Who?
along with the draft. But he said that...
There's no veterans. Carson Wentz?
I don't know. Didn't say.
Yeah. I mean, do we do this thing? Is it a mistake to say, oh, Sean Payton is looking for the next Drew Brees? Is that oversimplification?
No, because they had so much success together. And listen, we thought that Russell Wilson, I guess the smaller quarterback or whatever, and it didn't work.
I thought that too.
According to Mike Garafolo from NFL Network, Sean Payton also balked when asked if Jarrett Stidham is, quote unquote, in the driver's seat for the job, but said he'll compete. So they're not handing it to Stidham. So, yeah. Would you be that overt? I mean, I know Sean Payton will do what he wants and say what he wants to the media, but...
God, I wish I was at that table right now. I'd just say, Sean, you saw the hand size, didn't you? I mean, what are we doing here? Just hand in the pick. It's done.
Run it up to the podium. 855-212-4CBS. Coming up, belief in the top contenders in March Madness. Where are we at right now? We'll get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
She was the Heisman Trophy winner in 1986. He left her off the ballot. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
This is probably the best thing that could happen for men's college basketball. Hey, welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Perloff, we have talked a lot about how the men's tournament really took a step back last year, not in excitement, but in the ratings, because you had so much parity that you had mid-majors like FAU, San Diego State, who's still in this tournament, University of Miami, and then UConn in the Final Four, and it was one of the lowest rated Final Fours. Well, I'll tell you what, that is not what's happening this year. We have all 4 number 1 seeds are alive, all 4 number 2 seeds are alive, half of the 3 seeds, Duke is still alive as a 4 seed. This is a blue blood tournament through the first 2 rounds.
Ironically, UConn is playing San Diego State.
I know.
You're like, UConn plays San Diego State. That is not happening, except for Thursday.
But I meant in the Final Four.
No,
yeah,
you're absolutely
in the
right.
championship game.
You know, the only thing I would counter back is who are the stars, though. That is one thing.
I think the tournament's making the stars like they always do.
Well, yes, but there are in the past tournaments where you came in with stars. I think, ironically, 2 of the biggest stars are kind of been made. DJ Burns at NC State and Dalton Knecht at Tennessee, who are not part of that blue blood circle. NC State and Tennessee are, it's safe to say they're not blue bloods.
No, but at least they're in major conferences, you know? So I think that's the difference. Like, you have the highest seed left in this tournament is NC State, who has a rich basketball history and plays in the ACC, is one of the best conferences in the country for basketball.
Right. Zach Edey's the other big star, too. Sorry, I forgot him. But I do think, even the UConns and the North Carolinas and the Dukes, it is great to have those blue bloods advancing at the end. You do want some underdogs, but at the end you want some blue bloods. I'm just not sure that college basketball is back, in the sense that I'm not sure the star power is there right now. I think NIL and the dissolution of the G League Ignite might help that. But there's no Zion in this tournament, right? There's no guy who's easy to cross over. There's Caitlin Clark on the women's side. Sure. I'm not sure who that is on the men's side. Is it Zach Edey?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Edey is more of like the physical specimen because he's 7'5", but I think that this is probably good for the men's game, because we've been talking about, the men's game, it's a 1 month of the year, sport. And then when your 1 month doesn't even do well, then now what are you, right? If you're a 1 month a year sport and then you're getting lower ratings, like quote unquote, for the Final Four and for the championship game, then you might really be in some trouble. This is not what's going on. This was one of the highest rated, these first two rounds, is one of the highest rated and most watched NCAA tournament first two rounds we've ever had. That would signify maybe the sport's not in perfect health, but at least their postseason tournament is in perfect health. We had some close games, but to be honest, we actually had a lot of blowouts too. These big seeds, the number one seeds, are winning by an average of 27 points per game.
We'll see. I'm just saying we'll see. Is it going to be a high-rated final? Because, listen, you look at, there are some blue bloods, but I think a Houston UConn or a Creighton UConn or there's a lot of, the Clemson is still alive. It's not exactly, we're not guaranteed to get Duke, North Carolina. I'm just saying there's a wide range. I'm sorry, is Marquette going to draw ratings in the finals? Of course not. I do think, yes, it is not Florida Atlantic and Miami of Florida and San Diego State. But it could easily work out. I think you're jumping to conclusions that we're going to get the blue bloods in the Final Four.
I don't know. These one seeds look unbelievable.
But even the one seeds,
even
Purdue,
Houston, I know Houston last night had to go to overtime late, but this is still a team that in their first round, Houston won their game by 40 points.
I don't know. The one seeds, they have not necessarily been challenged. UConn played Northwestern and Stetson. That was not going to happen. Houston got challenged. Purdue started out really slow against Utah State, who's not very good. We saw that game. I just think there's a lot of basketball left. You're jumping to the conclusion.
They won the game by 39 points. I mean, they started slow, but it wasn't even a game.
I don't know. And even, by the way, and North Carolina beat Michigan State, but Michigan State was in that game for a long time. I'm just saying that doesn't mean anything that they won the second round. And even a 30-point win in the second round over an 8 seed, it's a new round. I want to see this blue blood Final Four. I think that you could have sort of a mix of is Marquette a blue blood? No, obviously not. Is Houston a blue blood? It's Purdue. All these teams they're okay.
Yeah, but Marquette's a 2 seed.
Yeah,
so even if they're not a blue blood, they're still a high seed in this tournament. Right.
But the point is that everybody's not going to be watching in the Final Four if it's teams like that. I mean, Miami and Florida was a big tournament team, and I don't think anybody cared about them being in the Final Four last year. Even EJ's a Miami fan for football.
Hey, football, not basketball.
Yeah. The split allegiances around here are maddening.
Just being a big conference alone does not necessarily mean that it's going to capture the nation's attention. We'll see.
We have to put some stakes on this bet, because Perloff is saying that if LSU and Iowa meet on the women's side, which would be in the Elite Eight, if they meet on the women's side of the Elite Eight, he believes that will be a higher rated game than any game on the men's side, including the Final Four and the championship game. Bet accepted.
Okay.
I think this is a tough bet, Pearl.
What if I said Iowa, South Carolina in the final game, if that did happen? Would you think that would outrate the men's final?
No, I don't. Listen, this is not a stain on women's basketball. I'm not saying that. I think that if you have UConn going for a back-to-back title, I know LSU, if they're in the final, would be going for a back-to-back title, but then you don't get Iowa. If you have the Tar Heels in the title, I mean,
even that, I don't know. I feel pretty good. Duke is a different thing. I can't compete with Duke. I think you're underestimating Caitlin Clark.
Well, first she's got to make it. I'm
just saying, if she got the title game, I mean, that would just be, I can't even imagine what the rating would be.
Well, we say that, Pearl, but at the same time, last year, we're talking about Caitlin Clark. She was a megastar last year.
But she's so much bigger now. Is
she that much bigger now?
Yeah, she's had
bigger.
4 national commercials. I mean, I can't turn on my TV without seeing Caitlin Clark. I think last year developed her into that superstar. Now we've had a year of her being, that's my opinion, her being a superstar.
No, I'm with you on that one. And we also have a little bit of a litmus test for just how big she is that Perloff can send one tweet about her that was interpreted as being negative. And we just found out that you made the CBS morning show.
Yeah, there's a segment called What to Watch, and they feature my tweet about Caitlin Clark.
This thing is nuts. You're at 17 million views so far just because you said when she got fouled hard in the game against Holy Cross, the 116 game that Iowa ended up winning rather easily. It was a tight game in the first half. Caitlin Clark was frustrated. She gets an elbow to the face by Brana Cassidy Power, is that her name? Yeah, from Holy Cross. It looks really bad in slow motion replay, and it looked like the Holy Cross player really hit her with an elbow.
Yeah.
They called it an intentional foul. Perloff said this is inadvertent, and any 2-year-old could see it, and he just got snowed by the internet.
Well, okay. It was clearly an accident. Everybody said after the game. The woman who did it said it was an accident. Caitlin Clark said it was an accident. The announcer said it was an accident. It was an accident. We're not going to argue about that. Whether it should be a flagrant. Maybe they should stop calling flagrants intentional fouls, by the way.
I agree.
I think that's the whole issue, be honest.
Yeah, because it's not intentional, obviously, puts a little weight behind it, like she was trying to take Caitlin Clark out. Flagrant is just excessive.
It was clearly excessive.
And even that
was clearly
to me,
excessive.
that's argument because it was accidental. It was a basketball move. She was just trying to swim through the lane.
But high elbows there.
You throw high elbows out, and you're trying to get to make a cut. And you hit somebody in the face.
What do we think was going to happen?
Right.
But that being said, we know what's a typical flagrant foul. It's not somebody back cutting. It's somebody goes up for a layup and you take them out. It's not your normal flagrant foul. She was on offense. I don't even think people understand that. Caitlin Clark was just sort of moving along the lane. It was totally an accident. There's no way that woman wanted to slug Caitlin Clark in the face.
I think this was not on purpose, but I have seen that kind of play done on purpose. That is, I think, where also you ran into some trouble on social. Because that kind of thing where you raise your elbows high, people will throw your elbow like that on purpose. I don't think this was on purpose. I think it was flagrant. But I think the problem is this intentional foul thing. Why can't they call it a flagrant foul in women's basketball? I don't. That doesn't compute to me. Because when I looked up the definition of what an intentional foul is, nothing about it reads intentional.
Right.
It's not part of the rule.
Right. It's just about excessive. And she got called for the intentional foul, which was 2 shots in the basketball for Iowa.
It was a really tough call, too, because it wasn't. Otherwise, there was no foul. They didn't call a tradition. They were bathed. I don't even know what they were. It shouldn't have been a foul. What was it? Was it a charge? Was it a block? I don't even know. It was just incidental. It was nowhere near the ball. It was totally just 2 people ran into each other. So. And the announcers were very clear about that. They did not expect a flagrant foul at all. They thought, this was just a basketball play. They were very surprised when they stopped to look at it. And then they kept saying, well, I can see where they would call it flagrant, but it was accidental, so I'll bet you that they let it go.
That was not the case.
Here's the question. Did they not let it go because it was Caitlin Clark? If this was just some random person, would it have been a big deal?
Yeah, but superstars getting calls is not, especially at home, is not going to rise to the level of a news story. What I thought was biggest about this was Caitlin Clark was very frustrated in the first half. Yeah. This is Holy Cross, okay, a 16 seed. I was going to play tonight, but she was really frustrated. I mean, not that she's doing anything out of the ordinary of what other star players have done, but it is noticeable. Barking at the referees. Her dad had to tell her to stop, in the stands. She headbutts the basketball at one point, out of frustration. And I think that the pressure was definitely there. I mean, you can see it. How could the pressure not be there? And, this is how she handles it. Listen, sometimes it'll rev you up, but other times it can really hurt you and take you out of your game.
She's had a rough go. I mean, this has been a bad 2 or 3 weeks for her. Listen to these 3-point lines. Big Ten tournament, Penn State 2 for 14 from 3-point line. 4 for 11, then 5 for 17, including 0 for her first 10 from 3-point. And last night she was 3 for 9. People are face guarding her all over the court, and it's frustrating the heck out of her. Luckily, the other players at Iowa are stepping up and hitting threes. Isn't that the strategy? If you were playing her, what would the first thing you would do?
Well, face guard her, and I tried to get really under her skin. I mean, I know this wasn't intentional. They're saying it's not intentional of hitting her in the face, and I would never advocate for something dirty like that. But I'm trying to get real physical with her.
Yeah. I was going to say I'm going to let the rest of Iowa beat me. I'm not going to let Caitlin Clark beat me. And the truth is, the rest of Iowa's been beating everybody. So that's a thing, too.
Yeah, it turns out the rest of the team, pretty good. That's why they're a 1 seed. 855-212-4CBS. Andrea is our pal in the Bay Area in Berkeley. Andrea, good morning. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Been a while. How are things?
Yes. Well, happy full moon, lunar eclipse. I wanted to mention that. That's definitely creating a little havoc and things come to light.
Okay, so when is the lunar eclipse?
He's a sun sign Cancer. They're ruled by the moon, so it should be interesting to see what develops. And I also wanted to mention Mercury about to retrograde.
Oh, no.
That's the planet that rules communication, travel, so expect some delays and snafus. It's April 1 to the 25th. And we're in what's known as retro shade, meaning things are already getting kind of funky. So it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening with Ohtani when he talks tomorrow or later today.
Yeah, I would argue Mercury already in retrograde for Shohei Ohtani, especially
right. And Cancers are ruled by the moon, so it's a much more emotional time for him. So it'll be interesting to see what develops. He's July 5th, 1994. Just had his Saturn return at age 30. So it's some endings and new beginnings. So it'll be interesting to see what comes to light during the full moon.
Oh, my goodness, Andrea. This is terrible news for Ohtani. I mean, all this stuff is coming down all at once. Plus, he's got the Mercury in retrograde and the moons and stuff.
It's double whammy from the universe, yeah.
Andrea, for the eclipse, I know this is getting a lot of attention nationwide.
Yes.
Is it tonight?
It's actually at 12:05 tonight.
Okay, so technically tomorrow, but tonight, yes.
And then in 2 weeks, Maggie, there's a solar eclipse. So we're kind of in between eclipses. We got the full moon eclipse in Aries Libra. Then on April 8th, in 2 weeks, we have the solar eclipse. So we're in eclipse season, and they happen 2 weeks apart. So it'll be interesting to see what transpires during these times.
Oh, my goodness. I don't know what to do. Should I just, hole up in my house and lock the doors? Or should I be, making big life decisions now? Which way do you go with these eclipses?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if we throw in Mercury retrograde, I wouldn't make big life decisions.
Okay.
It's a time to rethink, redo, reflect, and review. I always say do RE things when Mercury retrogrades, reflect, redo, regroup. So I would, not make major life decisions necessarily. I know your Taurus birthday is coming up soon, which is nice, and that's some new beginnings for you. But, less is more, Maggie, with Mercury retrograde in terms of travel, contracts, transportation, technology.
All right.
So that's what I would say about Mercury retrograding.
Well, Andrew, thank you. And thank you for shedding some light. Good to talk with you. And thank you for telling us about Ohtani, because that's going to maybe cloud some things, no pun intended. I'm glad in this time when you shouldn't be making big decisions that I'm going to be getting into a wrestling singlet. That couldn't have gone worse. Maybe not.
You made that decision back in November. You guys deserve
Why could
that.
Alabama just beat Michigan? Good grief.
If Milroe does not fumble the ball, none of this happens.
I know, and it's Perloff in the singlet, which is a great business decision for everybody.
You know how many
except for
Caitlin
Perloff.
Clark fans would have been happy to see Perloff in a singlet after all this
I know.
drama?
Why? How am I anti-Caitlin Clark now? Is that how this has evolved? Because I was anti
Well, I
the
don't
call?
think anti-Caitlin Clark, you were anti-basketball. By saying people should get elbowed in the face, not face consequences.
Perloff's been anti-basketball for years. Everyone knows that. I'm just kidding.
I'm anti-soft. I'm anti-officials ruining the sport, which is kind of hard to ignore this month. But whatever, Auburn, Yale. I mean, just hand the game to Yale. Hand the game to Yale. I mean, what the heck? The guy hits him in the head, and then that was a flagrant elbow. Whatever. Me and Charles Barkley are eye to eye.
Yeah, Charles Barkley backing up Auburn.
Oh yeah, he definitely knows college basketball.
Oh, now if you're going after Charles and me, I mean, who else is next? I mean, you're talking about two of the most likable people in this country.
Again, he definitely knows college basketball.
Yeah.
Love you, Charles.
Yeah. I think we all kind of accept it at this point. Don't
I
we?
love it. I accept it for what it is. But
Listen, they're
It is what
reacting
it
in the
is.
moment. In the moment. There you go. Man, this whole moons eclipse thing. Are you guys into this at all?
I mean,
The worm moon. You heard
the
about
eclipse
this?
is the lunar eclipse is the thing that I don't quite get. Apparently, the moon is just more bright.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. Full moons always look bright to me. I don't really understand. I get the solar eclipse, and I feel
Yeah.
like that looks more obvious. I
Well,
don't
don't look at it.
Right. I
Yeah.
know you're not supposed to look at it, but I feel like there's an effect on the sky that it makes sense. The lunar eclipse, whenever it's happened, I'm like, I don't really notice much of a difference. I feel like when they have those like weird like blood moons, when it's like red, like that stuff I recognize more, and that
Right.
looks cooler. The lunar eclipse doesn't really do it for me.
So let's see. The great eclipse, 3:12 a.m. Eastern time. The moon will appear to be slightly darker than usual. A gradient of darkening happening from one side of the moon to the other. And then the worm moon, which was named by Native American tribes in reference to the beetle larvae and other creatures that emerge from hibernation in the spring, will be visible to everyone across the world since the moon will appear to be full for a couple days. So you got worm moon, which sounds like one of the one-hit wonders that we've been doing in our March Madness
The
bracket.
question is it a song or is it the artist that would be Worm Moon? I feel like the artist would
I
be
think the
Worm
artist is Worm. It's like Tub. You don't think Tub Thumping could have been by Worm Moon
Yeah.
instead of Chumbawamba?
Or it could be the title of Dune 3, which may or may not come out.
Worm Moon.
You have no idea, Miss Non-Sci-Fi.
Sorry. I mean, I know that Dune exists, but I can't watch it. I'll fall asleep.
It's fictional.
Oh, yeah. It's sci-fi. Fiction.
Yeah. No. When you say exists, it's not really out there.
No,
in
sorry.
space.
The movie.
No, I just want to be clear. If
I know
anybody was
Timothy
listening.
Chalamet is a thing.
Yes. They have giant worms on this planet, you know.
Exactly.
Oh,
You know.
really? I didn't realize
Whoa, come
I didn't
on,
realize there
Maggie,
was an
you-
eclipse season. It's like the other madness. It's 35 days. It occurs every 6 months near the equinoxes. Eclipse season. We should be like, I don't know. What do we do during this? Celebrate it in some
Do
way.
a countdown.
Right. Countdown to
Countdown to
like
when
the opening day.
the moon gets covered, and we can say, "Happy eclipse."
Meanwhile, we're on in Rochester, New York, a Rochester affiliate. Apparently, that's where these eclipses are going to be the most vivid. People are flocking to Rochester, New York.
That's great for Rochester.
So grab a garbage plate while you're there. 855-212.
If what's that thing in Manhattan where they do the grid and you could see the sun? Like
Yeah.
if that's anything like that, then Rochester's going to be just bumping at
Yeah.
12:05, whatever time it is.
Tourism capital of
Yeah.
America. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Okay, lots more to do. Man, so much news today. We've got hirings. We've got Dion. We've got coaches, NFL coaches speaking at the owners' meetings. What are they saying? We've got it all for you. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Got a little media jealousy here. I wish we were in Orlando at the NFL owners meeting. Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff, because it is. I've never been to one in Orlando. I heard it's the most laid back you'll ever see the coaches. And it seems like the coaches who are all doing their little press conferences right now, they sit at a table and answer questions, are very loose. And I'm not sure Jim Harbaugh is ever not loose anymore, because that dude is saying wild things. Going to Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated's Twitter feed. Here's a couple quotes from Harbaugh. He says, because of the QBs at the top, being at 5 is like having the number 1 pick. And I didn't understand it at first, but you have a good read on what that could mean, Maggie.
Well, I think what he's talking about is, since the Chargers have a quarterback in Justin Herbert, if they stay at 5, it's like they have their pick of the skill position players.
Right.
Or a left tackle or whatever, wherever they want to go, it's like they're going to have one of the top picks.
Right.
Whether it's Neighbors, whether it's Marvin Harrison, whether it's whatever.
Left tackle, yeah. Right. He also said his former quarterback in Michigan, J.J. McCarthy, had the best throwing day I've ever seen at his pro day. That's a strong comment. But here's the one that I love the most. Jim Harbaugh, everybody in that building, talking about the Chargers, no one was born on third base. Everyone had to work their way to first. To quote Albert Breer, no comment, because I think Harbaugh employs his kids.
Oh, I didn't think about Harbaugh. Yes, Harbaugh.
And Harbaugh is a coach's son, too.
Well, that and also I think the Chargers, the Spanos family, has a couple family members who are also working for the team.
Everyone in that building know it. That's hard to say in the NFL, which is the ultimate patronage job.
Harbaugh's son I'm assuming, is going to be part of the special teams, where he was part of the special teams for Michigan, and they had a terrible game. I mean, they ended up winning the title, so it gets forgotten.
Jay Harbaugh.
A terrible game in the
and also too,
semifinal.
This whole notion of Jim Harbaugh is the son of a coach. His brother is an NFL coach. And he has this sort of family of coaches that he promotes. It does feel like he helps out a lot of guys. It just seems like a weird quote. Although Jim Harbaugh, nobody says that he was entitled to anything. That guy he seems as intense as ever. You were more excited about the hire because I thought the Chargers had to redo their roster and take some time. I'm getting pretty fired up for this. I think Harbaugh is going to get in there and coach that team up.
I'm telling you, this is going to be good. He also said, he was asked about Keenan Allen, who obviously is now off to the Chicago Bears, a longtime Chargers wide receiver. He said, Keenan, $23 million a year, playing in Chicago, who's got it better?
Yeah.
Well, not for your team, I guess. So there you go. Jim Harbaugh back. Now, the other thing, too, is coming out from these meetings is Mike Tomlin talking about the Pittsburgh quarterback situation. He talked about it yesterday, reiterating today that Russell Wilson has the quote-unquote pole position to be the starting quarterback. But at the same time, Justin Fields is going to be given multiple opportunities to show his capability. According to Ian Rappaport and others, he said Justin Fields is oozing talent.
Yeah, a lot of meat left on the bone, which is a weird thing to say about a quarterback. Yeah, it feels like at first it was Russell Wilson's job. Fields was going to be the backup. These quotes make me wonder, is it going to be a real quarterback competition?
Listen, I always thought that Fields was going to end up starting more games than Russell Wilson, and not just for injury or something like that. I think if it starts off poorly, or if Russell Wilson starts to look bad, I think you're going to pull the ripcord right away. Probably because you feel like you could go back to Wilson if you really needed to, if Fields stumbles,
Or you could cut Wilson, too, because you have no money on the line. I don't think that's going to happen. I still think if I had to bet that Russell Wilson gets the week 1 start, but you are so right, week 8, even if Wilson does start week 1, week 8, is Fields going to be in there? That's a big question. And is this good? Is this if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have 1 quarterback situation?
No, because I think you've upgraded your room so significantly. You went from Kenny Pickett, Mr. Trubisky, and Mason Rudolph to at least now Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. I'll take column B rather than column A if I'm really trying to win a Super Bowl, right?
In reality, except that there's only 1 quarterback who started last year with worse numbers than Kenny Pickett. That was Justin Fields. Right. I mean, his stats have not been great either.
Yep.
And Russell Wilson has been on the decline. There's a reason those guys were available and cheap. I agree with you. I do think they're a big step up, but they're in the AFC North where you have nothing but future Hall of Famers all around you.
I get it, but you're also not asking your quarterback to go out there. You're not asking him to do what Joe Burrow does. You're not asking him to do what Lamar does.
But you're going to have to beat Lamar and Joe Burrow and whatever
do,
Cleveland's
though.
putting together.
They kind of do. The biggest problem, it's not making the playoffs. It's winning when you get there. They take on their own division even when they're at a quarterback deficit and find a way.
But when's the last time maybe I'm wrong, when they made it as a strong number 1 seed? They've been sneaking in at 9-8 or 10-7. When I don't think anyone has had expectations for them in a while.
See, that's funny. I see that as a credit to them. Like they are playing in such a tough division where they obviously have the worst quarterback and they still make the playoffs. Whether it's a 7 seed, 6 seed, whatever, right. I still view that as an accomplishment.
But they still, to me, have the weakest quarterback in that division.
Yeah.
I mean, you might argue with Deshaun because we haven't seen him on the field. But it's especially if it's Russ. No, even in Fields, I think that they are 4th in that. Can you win by having the 4th best quarterback in your division? We're about to see.
In the chat, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio and twitch.tv/CBS Sports Radio. You should log on because we are 10s. Pine Needle said, Mike Tomlin has come out a few times and emphatically said Wilson is the starter and Fields is the backup because he doesn't want to answer those questions in training camp. Good luck. This is going to be a question he is asked every single day, whether he wants to continue. Yep. Listen, don't fight the media on this one. Just have your stock answer and move on. Don't make this the hill to die on.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I can see Tomlin. He's getting grumpier in his old age. He's going to get so annoyed in training camp. Listen. He's going to be like, why are you asking me about the quarterback battle when we have this guy at left guard who's playing really well?
This is the thing. Don't get mad at the media when we ask about the most important position of the sport, and you brought in two guys who are household names. So don't get mad at us. Andrew Bogish is here with headlines. Hello, Bogues.
Hello again. So imagine being swarmed by Caitlin Clark truthers and then seeing your favorite men's team blow a 12-point lead in less than 2 minutes, all in one weekend.
Roberts fronts. Radford calls the break. No timeouts. Bounce in. Up top. Garcia for three. Got it! Anderson Garcia, his ninth made three of the year, forges an 86-all tie. The red line is on. We'll have overtime.
John Sadak on the Westwood One NCAA radio network. Texas A&M stunning top-seeded Houston, pushing them to overtime in Memphis with that buzzer-beating three. They were down 81-69 late in regulation, but Houston won 195 in that extra period. Now they prep for Duke in Dallas in the Sweet 16. Those Blue Devils hammering James Madison and his teammates 93-55 in Brooklyn. UConn dumped Northwestern 75-58. San Diego State blew out Yale 85-57. Clemson a mild upset 72-64 over Baylor. And Alabama ended the Grand Canyon run 72-61.
Hey, by the way, whoa, Grand Canyon fans. Holy moly.
Well, they took the student section and traveled them to Spokane, which is why they were on fire.
I was like, who? This is an insane fan base. I'm like, are you the Green Bay Packers? How are you traveling this many people?
Gonzaga played them last year, and it was the same thing. But what was weird was in the first round game, they put St. Mary's in Spokane, Washington, which is, you might as well give them a true road game. Like, I mean,
everyone hates them there. They have a rivalry.
When I said this was a real rivalry, and then they saw St. Mary's get booed off the court, and they were like, "Oh, I guess this is serious." I'm like, "Yeah." Gonzaga fans do not mess with St. Mary's at all. So Grand Canyon had a great crowd of not just Spokane locals, but then also their own people, including students that they flew a student section, which is, I don't know if I've ever heard that before.
I was like, I had to look up. I'm like, when did Grand Canyon even become a university? It goes all the way back to the 1940s. I just haven't heard them in athletics until so recently. It was Dan Marley was their head coach, right?
Yeah.
And now it's Scott Drew. So they have some star power, but I had no idea the fan base was that rabid.
I mean, this history goes actually pretty far back. It's, 9 years since they've had a basketball team?
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, how did they get a fan base? It's like, I felt they were going to jump through my television screen.
Well, they almost seem like kind of like what you see some of these high schools, like these created schools that are almost created just to be basketball schools. Like Grand Canyon, I know has been around for a while, but Grand Canyon and their boosters just decided out of nowhere, hey, we want to be good at basketball. So they threw all this money at them.
Yeah.
And this has been a train that's been coming for a while that, if you're not following college basketball, you might not have seen. But Grand Canyon being here is absolutely what they've been trying to do.
And with that fans and the way they played in Bama, that game at times yesterday was like manic. It was giving me anxiety. There was so much back and forth, guys all over the place. Like, it was too intense to watch.
Could you also hear coming through the person who was like screeching?
Yes.
Like an owl?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. I was like, someone's giving birth. So there's a lot going on in this basketball game. Someone's going to have a child.
Thursday's Sweet 16 schedule is Arizona, Clemson, and UConn, San Diego State in the early window, then North Carolina, Alabama, Iowa State, Illinois at night. Those are the East and West regions. From the women's side yesterday, Audi Crooks just 10 points, missing 8 of 21 shots, but her Iowa State Cyclones pushing Stanford to overtime at Maples Pavilion, but the Cardinal got the win 87-81 with Kiki Iriafen scoring 41 for Stanford. Caitlin Clark takes more accidental vicious elbows against Washington at 8 Eastern tonight. The Golden State Warriors...
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I did for a second.
Yeah.
So Perloff went viral, 17 million views. They're playing it on news shows and everything because of what he said about Caitlin Clark, that her foul is not intentional, not flagrant against her. And a 2-year-old could see that, and he just got avalanched by the internet. Is there anything else you could write tonight that could top 17 million? Let's think about it.
Well, I mean, I've had 2 bangers recently. I said Dog Connect should not be celebrating an SEC regular season tournament and got Vol Nation on my back.
Honestly, you should not even step foot in Tennessee. My husband was in Knoxville this weekend for some kind of bluegrass thing.
They're into it, huh?
He said it's charming, by the way, and lovely, and I do not think you should ever go there.
Tennessee, Knoxville. Well, yeah, but Tennessee football fans are famously grumpy. They go after everybody in the SEC, and they don't usually have the wins to back it up. I'm digging my hole even deeper here. But
oh my gosh.
That being said, I still agree. If Dalton Connect gets to the Final Four, I'm going to be like, oh, who is right now? Because my only take was Dalton Connect should have bigger goals. He's so good. Tennessee's a 2 seed. They should be thinking about the Final Four, not winning this stupid SEC regular season title. Didn't go over well.
Without being offensive, is there any basketball thing you could possibly say about Caitlin Clark tonight that could top 17 million views? We'll keep thinking.
I'm gonna any little foul, any kind of hand check that they call, I'm gonna just see like that's the worst call ever. Stop giving Caitlin Clark
the star treatment.
Star treatment.
You can't do the refs again. You got to jump into you got to pick a really bad men's player to compare it to. You got to go down the neck.
She wouldn't crack the starting five.
You guys think this is Jimmer Fredette all over again?
Yes. Yeah. By the way, I can't.
That is the tweet, I think.
She's the all-time leading scorer in both men's and women's basketball.
I don't know, that's gonna
She's
fly.
not Jimmer Fredette. I hear what you're saying though.
I can't believe you're okay. With all of this. I had 8 UMass basketball fans mad at me the other day that bothered me for 36 of half of America is angry at you, and you're just fine.
I think more than half.
Be here today.
It was the perfect storm because the way I cut the video was the slow-mo of it. It looked terrible. Anybody who actually watched the game was much closer to me.
So,
they might have thought it was intentional, but it was clearly not the hubbub that it looks like in the slow-mo.
Your video is the first time I saw the play, and I'm going, how could he type those words over this video?
I love he said, I'm the one who edited the video.
Trachea.
I'm the one who edited the video like you were in the Adobe out.
But everyone's like, if you're watching the game, there's no flagrant fouls when a woman is just running from one side of the court to the other on offense. It's not a typical situation for a flagrant foul. The announcers are like, maybe, I guess. Not a big deal. And then everyone sees it in slow-mo, and Dave Portnoy retweets it, and Rex Chapman, and all of a sudden...
Portnoy tweeted it too? Oh, my gosh. No wonder.
Portnoy said that this person should be in jail about the Holy Cross player. I think he was being funny.
Oh, my gosh.
I think the last time Portnoy retweeted something of ours, too, it got like 23 million views.
Yeah, Portnoy did the Connect one, too. That did not help.
Dave Portnoy, get off our blog. Or thanks, I guess.
The Golden State Warriors lost for an NBA high 11th time after leading through 3 quarters last night, 114-110 in Minnesota.
Oh, wait. By the way, can I just pause for a second?
What?
We love Dave Portnoy. Let's not, whatever he just said, can you edit that out of the podcast? I do not want Dave Portnoy coming after us in any way or anybody in Barstool.
It's fine. We just know he's probably going to be the president of the United States in around 2044.
Yeah. I just, sorry to interrupt what you were saying, Andrew, but this is not a fight we want to have with anybody at Barstool because he was being humorous about this. Okay? There.
I also think he bet $100,000 on Holy Cross in that game.
Did he really?
To cover, yeah.
I saw he had a $600,000 bet on a game, too. Was it UConn?
That I don't know. But I saw him saying, a video of him saying, I just bet $100K on Holy Cross women. And the whole room was like, why would you do that?
Oh, man.
I mean, why? If you got the money to burn, I guess.
Or maybe you just scouted Holy Cross women.
Actually, I bet it's not true.
Yeah, right. I mean, there's no receipts.
Oh, he definitely did.
$100,000?
Oh, 1,000%.
Don't you think that
1,000% sure he did.
Okay, here's the thing, though. We talk about betting a lot. We're going to talk about Shohei Ohtani, the translator, all of that. Don't you think $100,000 bet would be enough to take it off the board?
No, it's a tournament. The tournament gets a lot of action. That's a super busy day in Vegas, right?
For a 16 versus a 1, you don't think $100,000 would raise an eye?
I assume it was on the spread.
Yeah. I also think my concern would be I wouldn't want to put what I bet out there for tax purposes.
Well, this was the Floyd Mayweather thing.
Yeah,
Floyd would always tweet out. And by the way, Des Bryant has been have you guys noticed? Do you follow him on social? Des Bryant's feed. You blocked him.
He's the worst.
It's basically just all of his bets. You put them out there, you never know when the IRS could come after you if you're not declaring those wins.
No, but these Portnoy's on DraftKings. So
no, I understand.
Yeah,
I'm just saying,
there's no question
how
about
many $100,000 bets do you think people are putting on 1 versus 16 in the women's side?
Well, I mean, there's a spread, so it doesn't matter. Right. It's definitely not doing the money. He bet $600,000 on UConn to win the whole thing, and he'd get $2.7 million if it does win. It's plus 360. He put the receipt out for that.
Yeah.
He definitely puts these numbers out there. I mean, if you're putting multiple hundred, eventually it'll all cancel out, right? You might lose.
Well, you think that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you'll come back to 50-50. You might lose the VIG, but I mean, that's like Floyd Mayweather. He would tell us what he won, but he probably lost a ton of bets, but it all comes out in the wash. I think he's fine. And by the way, I like that UConn bet. They look good. I might put in my version of $600,000, which is $60.
You and Dave riding together.
Again, we're very cool with Dave Portnoy. Can we get that on the record? Please.
Totally fine.
Please.
We were talking about the NBA. Warriors blew a lead last night. Steph Curry was on the bench to start the fourth as the T-Wolves were rallying. He said he would have liked to be out there to stop the bleeding, but Steve Kerr's in charge.
We got 5 games in 7 days on this road trip. So if you want to say that him playing 30 minutes instead of 32 was the difference in the win and the loss, I totally disagree with that. And we're trying to win the game. We're trying to keep him fresh too.
To keep him fresh to maybe make the play, and the Dubs are just 1 game clear of the Rockets right now for the last spot in that West play-in.
I have a question. What happens, and maybe it's nothing, but I think it needs to be asked, what happens if the Warriors don't make the playoffs?
Unbelievable.
Because this is no longer, they'll find I mean, they might not make the play-in. That is a real thing now.
Last Dance.
Last Dance the wrong way.
Wrong direction.
Not the way we expected.
Literally turn the lights out and go home.
Okay. I think you're actually okay on that take, Maggie, because you said it'd be a Warriors last dance. There's many definitions of a last. The last dance could be going out in the regular season. It doesn't have to be like Michael Jordan's last dance where they win the ring. It could just be their last dance.
Well, listen, there's
at a funeral.
Dance at a funeral.
It's a slow dance.
There's a lot of things working against me, and when I predicted this would be the Warriors' last dance, they don't look like they're going to win. Steve Kerr just signed a massive extension, and Curry's not going anywhere. Draymond's not going anywhere.
I think Clay could be back too, ironically, but who knows?
If Clay's back, then really bury the take.
Well, maybe next year. You might have just been a year early.
Yeah, just keep saying it.
I still think this is possible. I don't think the contract extension definitely means Kerr's sticking around.
I agree with that. So wait, there's 70 games done. There's 82.
I sound like an idiot when that comes out of my mouth.
He literally signed paper that he'll be there next year.
I know, and I'm like,
I don't think that counts.
I'm so jaded.
It's not notarized.
$35 million guaranteed, just down the tube.
How much has he made?
By the way, that being said,
Lakers made more.
They're definitely a dangerous 10 seed. If they can keep
no
Houston
such
on.
thing.
Oh, they're. What are you talking
They
about?
got to play if they got to play the Nuggets, they're losing in 3 games. Yes, I know they're a 4 game. They won't even play the 4th.
Don't even show
Right
up.
now, Sacramento's a 7, but the 4 West Conference play could be Phoenix, Dallas, Los Angeles, and Golden State, the Lakers. That's 14 verified Hall of Famers in the play-in tournament. That'd be the most amazing Final Four. What can we do about that?
Why don't we just bring back Tim Hardaway and Chris Mullin and Mitch Richmond too? I mean, these guys are ancient. Are you watching these guys?
They're younger than the Lakers.
I'm just look, and everybody knows I love Steph Curry. So this pains me to say this. They are washed as a team. Washed. Now, could they rejig this and give me some new young guys to pair with Curry? Maybe. It's not happening with this unit at all.
Last dance. That's like a Russell Wilson. Last dance. Let's roll.
Let's weld.
What can I tell you? Oh, the U.S. men now unbeaten in its last 7 matches with Mexico. Their longest such streak in this old rivalry. Last night's 2-0 win in Dallas got them their 3rd straight Nations League crown, whatever that is, guys.
Let's stay hard.
Back to you.
That's that's my personal motto. Last dance is just something I say. 855, thank you so much. 212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. All right, we have more from the NFL owners' meetings. We also have more from March Madness. So much to do. Don't move a muscle. Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Perloff, Bill Self of Kansas coming under some scrutiny. Welcome back to the show, by the way. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Hello.
Yeah,
all right, so Bill
scrutiny
Self,
he screwed me in the tournament by beating Samford in the first round. That was my upset special. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so they end up winning the first round, Kansas does, but then they beat Gonzaga. They meet Gonzaga, and they lose to Gonzaga. And Bill Self was asked in the postgame if he started to turn the page to next year, and here's was his response.
For the last month, I've been thinking about next season, to be honest. Not in the moments during the game, but obviously we played we had 8 guys on scholarship, and we play. I mean, that were healthy there late, and injuries are part of the game, so that's not an excuse.
Yeah, I love it. Injuries are part of the game. It's not an excuse. I just used it as an excuse, though.
Sounded like an excuse.
Sounded like an excuse. And listen, he was asked specifically about the next season, but to come out and say, I've been thinking about next season for a month, like, that is such a terrible look for this coach. You're still Kansas. Even if you have injuries, your depth should be better than most of the teams in this league. You're a perennial championship contender. And the fact that Bill Self would say that, I mean, I have imagined he's got to regret that big time, because even if he says, well, obviously I wasn't checked out during the game, well, the game's only one part of your job. What about everything all leading up to the game? What about, tell us what you really think, coach? Like, I was just very surprised that a coach would put it that way.
Right. It's definitely a mistake to say it like that. But that being said, Bill Self has a lot of goodwill because of that 2022 title. I feel like Bill Self right now, with all the other massive big name coaches going away, he sort of found himself pushed up the ranking. I mean, he's one of the top probably 5 most famous, successful coaches, where he was, I think, a level below the Roy Williams of the world. Now I think he's still okay. Yes, this was a mistake, but do you really think moving forward, Kansas fans are going to have any problem with Bill Self?
Well, I don't know, but I think he's definitely getting a pass on this one if he did mean it, because if John Calipari said it, it would light the world on fire.
That's exactly my point. I think Bill Self has a lot of goodwill in store there. So I don't think this is going to be a major problem for him. If Calipari said that, you're right. I mean, that could be an excuse to fire him.
Right.
I think Self is totally fine here.
Yeah,
I don't think there's going to be any lasting repercussions of this statement, which is the wrong thing to say.
Which is funny, though, because it's not like his tenure has been perfect here. NCAA violations, getting caught up in that whole scandal.
Wow, that's a nothing burger.
People went to jail over it, so it's not a nothing burger. But
I still think the whole corrupt nature of the NCAA, like, I think if you're looking at a coach's legacy, you can never hold a violation against them, because I think the NCAA is the one who is in the wrong.
No,
that's my opinion.
I get it, but it's not like it didn't ensnare him. It did. Not him specifically. He's not the one who took the fall, but that was a big FBI investigation where people did go to prison. So it's not nothing. I know they've had some.
Yeah, but this is college basketball. The Kansas fans don't care about that. They care about winning and winning and winning.
Okay, then again, I don't want to hear an excuse from my coach even about injuries.
Yeah, but the reality is that's the truth here. And
you had 6 weeks or more to try to adapt without one of your big players.
Yeah, but you saw it wasn't happening here. So the thing about that game, they were really not trying on defense. It looked like either that or Gonzaga has the most brilliant offensive scheme of all time. It was a layup line. I've never seen less defense. But that being said, I think Kansas, it's one of those things. If you're Kansas and you're not going to win the title, then you're checked out anyway. Nobody would have cared if they made the Sweet 16. It's a title or bust program.
I know,
right?
but don't you think that also is an indictment? I mean, you're right. Gonzaga won 89-68. It was like not even a game.
Well, it was close for a while.
It was close at halftime, and in the second half, they could not score, and then they could not get a stop, which is a really bad combination of trying to win a tournament game.
Close in the first half. This is Kansas here. Yeah. It's not Grambling.
I think the thing that would bother me if I was a Kansas fan is we could talk about whether or not it's a big deal that he's looking ahead to next season, but it looked like his players were looking ahead to next season, because if your coach is saying that, hey, I'm thinking about next year, well, how does that reflect on how the players are preparing for a game? How is that going to affect the players' compete level? They did not compete at all. And we can talk about injuries, but not competing, there's no excuse for that. And I think that's why Kansas fans are upset.
Yeah, they should be. 855-212-4CBS. Coming up, we got the latest in the Shohei Ohtani scandal. New details. We'll bring them to you next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's destined to get knocked out by Jake Paul. She's destined to film it. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
We put March Madness to the side for a moment to bring you updates on Shohei Ohtani. Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. We have not forgotten about the Shohei Ohtani, Ipe Mizuhara gambling scandal that is still unfolding. Of course, you remember the details from last week, which is a lot of them. Shohei Ohtani's interpreter, now former interpreter, Ipe Mizuhara, developed a terrible gambling habit. And depending on which version of the story you believe, either Shohei lended him $4.5 million at least to get out of his gambling debts to an illegal bookmaker, or the story could be that he stole the money from Ohtani. So, Perloff, we are going to get Shohei Ohtani meeting the media later today. We will actually hear from Ohtani. Now, his people have asked for an investigation to be opened, but they didn't say with who. The feds, the IRS, like who's opening up the investigation? Who do they want to investigate this? Major League Baseball is investigating. I imagine
the IRS is investigating.
Yes.
So I have a sense of what's going to happen.
Okay,
I'll give you a preview.
Yeah, go ahead.
The interpreter's taking the fall for everybody.
Wait, first of all, do you think Ohtani's going to give this? He's going to have to give this interview or media scrum with another interpreter. No,
that's a great point. I think everybody. I saw David Roberts, the Dodgers manager, talking about it. He said he's going to give clarity today. You're right. It'd be interesting what the interpreter says. It seems like all the powers that be, some negative news about the interpreter started leaking over the weekend. Everybody's coming together, and they're going to protect the cash cow that is Shohei Ohtani.
Okay.
There's no way Shohei's going down for this. It's all going to be on the interpreter, and that process is going to be. Watch Shohei's going to sell him out in this press conference.
Okay. Wow. So you think that he's going to get?
I guarantee that's what's going to happen.
I've been the victim of a theft.
Yes.
I didn't know anything. Okay. The only thing about that though is Shohei's name is on the wire transfers.
So you could say, the
illegal bookmaker.
But the illegal bookmaker, the interpreter could have initiated that wire transfer under Shohei's name. There's all sorts of things that can get you out of that.
Or under false pretenses, I guess. But does that exonerate Ohtani? Say that the interpreter said, I need the money for
right.
A down payment on a mansion. I don't know. Something like that. Do you think, is that
Yes.
ignorance? Does that get you out of something like this?
I do, because I think that Shohei's going to claim, I had no idea about the gambling debts. That's definitely going to happen today. And then I think the interpreter is never going to contradict him, because I think the interpreter is willing to take the bullet here.
Right. Okay. So the details Perloff was talking about Ipe Mizuhara that have come to light. Sam Blum, who joined us on Friday from The Athletic, who covers the Angels, started poking around a little bit in Mizuhara's resume. And it turns out he claims to have graduated from University of California, Riverside. They have no record of him attending that school. Now, we don't know if he may have attended it under another name. After that, the Boston Red Sox went out of their way to reach out to and release a statement late on Friday, said, we're reaching out to all of you because of reports in various outlets stating that Ipe Mizuhara worked for the Red Sox as an interpreter, which is incorrect. So went through that. Also, they poke holes in his resume saying that he worked for the New York Yankees at one point. It turns out the timelines don't add up where that would not have been true. And we know that, Mizuhara goes back to Japan with Ohtani, the ham fighters, the Nippon ham fighters. But then there's like a 10-year sort of gap about what happened with his resume. So again, yes, poking holes in the credibility of the interpreter and probably painting him as a liar, or maybe he is a liar, to bolster Shohei's case that he was deceiving him.
You said Sam Blum was digging around. He got probably digging around after Rob Manfred called him and said, hey, look at this guy's resume. I'm telling you right now, this is, I don't know if Shohei did anything. I tend to believe maybe he didn't know about this. Maybe I'm gullible. But even if he did, even if these were his bets, this is a different case. Shohei is the show, if you will.
Yeah.
He is so important to baseball that they are going to not let him go down for this. Is that being overly cynical?
Well, here's the thing. Let's just say, a couple things don't add up here, though. Okay? Still don't add up. Yeah. And we got to hear this from the illegal bookmaker, and something tells me he will answer this question at some point, which is, if you are really taking bets for an interpreter, even if he's Shohei's interpreter, he's making between $300,000 and $500,000 a year. How would you let him rack up $4.5 million in gambling debts? That's the question that still would need to be answered. If he says, hey, I have access to Shohei Ohtani's bank accounts, well, then you're maybe complicit in some, or at least you wonder, that's what even if he says, I have access to Shohei's money.
Yeah.
I still don't know if you let this get to $4.5 million of debt. See, no one can answer that question. You know, every expert who's come on and talked about this has said if you are like a quote unquote regular person with a regular type of salary, or I know that'd be a high salary, but you get what I'm saying, not millions of dollars, then bookies won't let you they won't keep floating you and covering you for $4.5 million because they're going to think they're never going to get the money back.
But that bookie obviously knows he's an interpreter for Shohei Ohtani.
But just because you're an interpreter for somebody doesn't mean that they're going to float you 7 figures.
Right, but if you're the bookie, you'd be interested in taking that action because you know this guy has access to a multi big-time millionaire.
Right. So
almost a billionaire at this point, what he's guaranteed in the future.
But
$700 million.
Again, so what, you could blackmail the guy with it? Like, it doesn't guarantee the money's going to get to you.
Yeah, but I don't think there's a downside. You know this guy's losing bets. You might as well take more. It reminds me a little bit of the Jaguars and FanDuel. You know, Jaguars are suing FanDuel because they said, you should not let our team employees make $150,000 a year rack up $21 million in gambling debts. And they said FanDuel had to obviously understand that this was coming from an illegal place.
Yeah.
FanDuel's winning that court case is what everyone says, that it's not the job of the bookie to question where the money's going to come from. And even with the credit nature of them, the bookie obviously knew Shohei was connected to this guy. Don't you think if you were a bookie, you would say, oh, okay, he can get the money if he needs it?
Okay, but that would be, let's say, for example, let's turn this a little more personally. I don't know what Dan Patrick's bank account is, but would a bookie let you rack up $4.5 million of gambling debts because you work closely with Dan Patrick? Like, they wouldn't assume. No, not now. I'm saying when you were on DP show, like, just because you work closely with somebody and that person may have a lot of money, and I'm assuming Dan does, he's earned it, they wouldn't assume that Dan Patrick would cover your gambling debts.
Dan has a ton of money, but we're talking about Shohei Ohtani money.
I know, but
I would
say the proximity to money doesn't mean you're getting the money.
But there's proximity to this gold mine of Shohei Ohtani. I think it's much different. I think of course a bookie would be like, oh my God, this guy, and I wasn't Dan Patrick's interpreter. I wasn't his lifeline to the English media. It's a completely different situation.
You were a Danette. I mean, well, honestly, same.
I think that relationship, and everyone knows this, was so close. Obviously the bookie knew that. This is not a normal relationship.
Yeah.
If I was going to try to extort money from Shohei Ohtani, I would have felt very comfortable as a criminal going after that interpreter. that seems really like an obvious criminal move. That seems very easy to do. I mean, basically, this interpreter held Shohei's good standing in society in his hands for 8 years. He could have just said, oh, Shohei just said something completely inappropriate. I just think everyone knew that. And also, it was well documented how close they were.
No, I know. Teammates said it was more like a brotherhood. Again, we're talking about Shohei Ohtani, this gambling scandal with his interpreter, Ipe Mizuhara. Ohtani is going to meet the media today. So he said, we'll see if we get any clarity. Again, it's probably going to be through another interpreter, which is not his fault, obviously. Like the fact that he even, would... I'm assuming probably communicates with his teammates or even tries to speak English. Gosh, I mean, if we all went to Japan, I doubt we're doing much better. I'd want an interpreter also. It's just funny that we're never going to really hear it straight from the horse's mouth. I don't think.
I think that the process of covering this up, even if anything happened or putting the right story out there, there's no way Shohei's going down. It's just not going to happen. And you know how important he is to the sport? And baseball is in a position where they can't screw around and lose a star like this.
So can I bring up one other thing? If it is, we're just talking it out here. We're talking about a couple different things with Shohei Ohtani. So let's just say that it was Ohtani making the bets and not the interpreter. I don't know if it was. We have no idea. But just follow me here for a second. If it was Ohtani making the bets and not the interpreter, and everyone pins this on the interpreter, then he's the fall guy and all of that. Don't you think this is going to happen again? If you're a compulsive gambler, you don't get any help. And, if we just if everyone just covers this up and you blame it on the interpreter, then eventually, if you don't get help, like odds are you're going to probably fall into this in some form or fashion again.
Yeah, I don't know if $4.5 million for Shohei Ohtani is guaranteed of a gambling addiction. That might be a Thursday night. I mean, that dude has a lot of money. He gets enormous endorsements. I'm not sure. I think that I'm not a gambling expert by any means, but that seems.
You don't think that's excessive?
Nah, for him. I mean, $4.5 million. He's how much does he make in endorsements a year?
I'm not sure.
50 or something. No, I don't think that's
Well, this is
crazy.
like Michael Jordan, what he said in The Last Dance. He's like, if I had a gambling problem, wouldn't I be penniless? Wouldn't I be, something? But it could still be excessive.
But is if you divide a problem by is his life unmanageable because of gambling, it's hard to imagine $4 million is going to make Shohei Ohtani's life unmanageable. I think Shohei's probably fine.
No, but that's what we know about.
Too. I don't know. He's out there.
He's raking.
He's hitting the ball pretty well. It doesn't seem like, to me, it doesn't seem like he has a big problem, but maybe I'm being naive here.
That was just like a what if. Like if, for instance, this is actually Shohei making the bets and not the interpreter, and they pin it on the interpreter, I imagine this would not be the last we've heard of a gambling something, whether it's a scandal or whether it's a story or something, it would come out again.
I think when he's interviewing new interpreters, the first question is, hey, if I ever get in a gigantic gambling debt, can you not do it this way? What's your strategy?
Can you not put my name on the wire transfer to the illegal bookmaker?
Yeah, I'd be shocked if Shohei really had this massive a problem. Again, $4 million for him, that could be 5 bets.
So what's funny is imagine it's like when you put out for a job posting, it's like what we need out of you.
How good are you at covering up?
I was gonna say,
tax fraud.
You need to have an intimate knowledge of money lines and all betting strategies, point spreads, money lines, run lines. We're gonna need everything from you. That's first and foremost.
I'm still not convinced that Shohei is not going to take a massive fall here because
not today.
Well, no, but I'm saying throughout this whole process that like this guy Ipe is just going to take the entire hit because we know once the feds start talking about real jail time,
the loyalty can go out the window.
The loyalty can go away real fast, and at the end of the day, it's his name on these wire transfers. He's gonna have to explain that, and if Ipe goes on another way, say actually this wasn't me, this is for him, because it's just I just don't buy the concept that because you're the interpreter, you have access to all this money, and that bookie would just take a flyer without knowing that Shohei is fully engaged and knows exactly what's going on.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
This is happening. No, I agree.
It's a lot to float a quote unquote regular person, even someone who has a proximity to stardom.
It's not believable to me, and that's why I'm worried. I'm worried about this. I'm worried about the sport because this is obviously a story that's not going to go away, and just nothing about this passes the smell test. Well, even the fact that these guys are this close to me doesn't pass the smell test. We've had interpreters in Major League Baseball for 30 years. I mean, we've had an influx of international players. It's certainly been like it's part of the sport now. And this is the one special relationship where $4 million gets exchanged. That doesn't make sense.
See, to me, that actually is believable that they'd be really tight because I don't. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Were there any other Japanese players on the Angels? I don't think so. So you could feel pretty isolated. Like let's do the reverse. If we were in Japan and you had your interpreter and he was the only one who spoke English, you'd probably get pretty tight with him.
Right, but then when $4 million starts getting moved around, you start asking, okay, what is the actual thing happening? Like, yes, he's and then we hear, we had Sam Blum on the show yesterday, or excuse me, on Friday, and he says Shohei's English, by our understanding, is pretty good.
Yeah.
So then you start asking legitimate questions. Why is this guy his interpreter? Why this particular person?
I think there's a loyalty there that exists between the interpreter and the person. I do. I do think there's cultural aspects of this that we might not be super privy to that might be different. I think that there is definitely a loyalty part of this. So, I mean, a lot still to get ironed out here.
In this hypothetical, what is Shohei betting on? I mean, is he a college football fan?
So what Ipe said he was betting on was college football, the NFL, international soccer, and the NBA. Now, the question for me, and one, you talk about things that stretch your believability, is that nobody bet on baseball at all, especially if you're getting yourself into this type of hole, 7 figures. You're telling me you never put a bet on baseball?
Well, what stretches my believability is Shohei was betting on Michigan, Iowa. I just do not see that. He doesn't seem interested in American culture in any way.
Well, he came in a Lamar Jackson jersey to one game. So
really? So
maybe the Ravens were good to him that week.
You think Shohei's down with college football? Maybe I'm wrong. I guess
he might be betting on like a USC UCLA game or something that's right in his backyard.
I don't think Shohei gives a crap about all that stuff.
Well, somebody did. Ipe definitely did. Or Ipe said he was the worst gambler ever. Like we picked up on that.
And that's the thing. Your quote unquote best friend is this massive sports fanatic who's gambling on every single game, and this is the guy you hang out with all the time,
and you have clue,
no interest.
Yeah.
But this dude,
or no interest or no clue.
Yeah, no clue, no interest. Like, what are you guys doing together when he's watching these games? You think he's just putting in $500,000 bets and then just like going to hang out and hang out with Shohei and run the town?
Yeah,
like I don't see that.
I don't know. I just think that there's a twin story with this Jags guy, this low-level employee of the Jags lost $22 million on FanDuel. I think gambling addicts can hide a lot of stuff, and I think you can lose money really fast. I tend to believe, maybe I'm an optimist, that Shohei was swindled by this guy. But that being said, I just can't see Shohei betting with I just don't see it. Part of what I know of his character is that he's betting with a California bookie. Doesn't feel like he's into that kind of stuff. But
we don't know anything
I could be
about
totally wrong. And here's the thing: if it was betting on baseball, and he would say bet against himself or even bet on his own team, he's banned for life, isn't he? I mean, isn't that what the rule?
Oh yeah, if he bet on baseball, he's definitely banned for life.
So there's no way Major League Baseball is going to let Shohei Ohtani. It's different than NFL suspending Calvin Ridley or even Pete Rose. He's an active player. MLB will not let that. They will murder this interpreter right before that happens. They're not going to let Shohei Ohtani get banned for life.
That was just a very funny way to put it.
Watch it play out. There's just no. I think people will protect him, and I think the interpreter would take the fall, knowing that there's a reward at the end. Because I watch a lot of movies, and that's how it always works. Somebody takes the fall.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Well, Chris Carter was the one who put it out there at the NFLPA meeting. Remember the rookies came in?
Yeah.
And he said, you got to have a fall guy in your group.
Yeah.
Did that get him fired from a job? I don't remember. That was a interesting admission.
He's quite an honest man, that Chris Carter.
That is true. 855-212-4CBS. Okay, lots more to do. So much more to do. We'll hear from Shohei later. We got a lot of March Madness. We've got the NFL coaches speaking at the owners' meetings. What they have to say, you'll hear next. Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff.
Sorry. I was single parenting this weekend.
Not me.
Husband went away for the weekend, which I was totally on board with. Actually, I was the one who told him, go. You never get to see your friends. He and college friends went to a cool music festival in Knoxville, Tennessee, where Perloff is persona non grata.
Well, that being said, I mean, wow, you had to single parent your 4-year-old son for one weekend?
Yes, and watch the tournament.
Oh, my God. That is
Two tournaments.
That's pathetic that you're complaining about that,
And it
Maggie.
rained.
We were talking about Robert Saleh, the Jets head coach, is at the owners' meeting in Orlando, and he looks tan, and he looks like he goes to the gym for 3 hours a day, and he's got 7 kids.
Yeah.
Why he's not 30 pounds overweight is a total mystery.
He looks rested.
Yes.
He looks like he just played 18 holes of golf.
He should be dying at all times.
How? If you have 7 kids, I don't know how you make it out of the house every day.
And aren't
you have
you
to be like a
watching-
military precision.
Don't NFL coaches watch tape 24/7? And well, I don't understand Robert
tape
Saleh.
and Blippy.
Do you have 7 nannies here? Bogus, you seem to
maybe he's bench
understand.
pressing the kids.
Yeah,
that's how he's getting ripped.
No, I got nothing. He just was like a chia pet beard. That thing goes away and then comes back lush and thick and dark like immediately. He's just a better man than us, Perloff. That's just it.
The NFL coaches picture, the annual picture at the owners' meeting came out yesterday. Saleh is in better shape and taller and probably better looking than most of the coaches there. I think that's why the Jets are
That's what
employing
happens
him.
when you don't coach.
Is that why he has time?
No stress.
He's not watching video.
I was gonna say maybe it's the other stuff that led
What's
him
a
to
Patriot?
that led him to the 7 kids.
You're saying
keeping
that-
him nice and virile.
Glad you're feeling well, Rob.
I don't know. So you're playing Zach Wilson. The reason he wasn't playing better is because Saleh was out playing golf with Joe Beningo.
Somebody
And
asked
knocking up
Robert.
his wife again.
Somebody asked Robert Saleh, "How are you?" He says, "Best shape of his life in Pilates." Just like a part of him died.
It's like, of course.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
This guy's a picture of health. Can't coach a lick.
Well, Belichick has no sleep. The team goes 4 and whatever, and he's working his butt off. This guy is, an Adonis.
He should look like peak Jeff Van Gundy.
Oh.
Just a zombie.
Like Tom Thibodeau.
By the way,
Tibbs has got no kids. He's not even married.
Right.
And he looks that stressed out.
I'm going to blow EJ's mind right now. We looked at this coach's photo. You can't see it, obviously, on the radio, but it's a little far away, so it's not easy to see everybody. There's one coach we can't identify. There's only 32 head coaches. We still don't know who this guy is.
No.
EJ and I decided, that must be Eberflus wearing a hat. I'm reading Eberflus wasn't there.
Oh, man. I have no idea who that guy is. He's wearing Seahawks colors, so it makes me run to a Seahawks coach, but it's not. Pete Carroll retired, and it's not Mike McDaniel.
We're going to
this
Mike McDonald.
McDonald, rather.
Yeah.
We found out who he was as well.
I was guessing.
No, well, Mike McDonald.
That other random white guy in that picture, I was
Brian
guessing
Callahan
that was
and Mike McDonald are interchangeable in my mind.
Yeah.
And then, but there's a guy wearing a hat who's sitting next to Mike McDonald that we can't figure out.
Is it Dave Canales?
No, Canales is obvious.
Canales stands out.
Yeah,
he's also very handsome and very fit.
Very handsome, yeah.
Yeah.
Who is it? EJ, you pull up. There's a guy in the hat in the front row who we cannot identify. There's only 32 head coaches. They get more attention.
Is it the guy from the Titans?
No, wait, someone in the hat in the front row, it's Dennis Allen, guys.
Oh, that's Dennis Allen.
Jeez, I don't even have the picture in front of me, and I remembered it.
Well, you know what though?
It doesn't look like him.
I think so. Does he have a goatee in this picture?
He looks skinny and his hair is short. So it does not look like Dennis
Allen. He had a goatee
Allen.
last year, I believe. Which maybe that's what threw me off.
Yeah, it reached 7 and 10.
It looks like 7 and 10.
No, we genuinely did not recognize Dennis Allen. We know Dennis Allen. It's not like he's a guy that we don't know. Brian
This
Callahan.
is the second time.
Brian Callahan and Mike McDonald, I am telling you.
You know what?
Put a lineup of those guys and we will not get them.
I'm defending myself here. Dennis Allen has often rocked a goatee. He is clean shaven in this photo. I think that's why I didn't know who he was.
It's like Jalen Hurts shaved his goatee. You can't recognize
also,
him.
shaved his goatee now.
Who?
Dak Prescott. That was a new thing. I mean, I feel like he's trying to. I mean, I know he's got some maybe serious allegations out there, but like I feel like this has been the new thing for him this offseason. Just grow the goatee out more to make it look like you're different, and then shave it off, and not people think he has a new haircut when it's all facial hair. That's the whole deal with him.
That's the deal this offseason?
That's the deal.
Forget the salary cap, the draft.
Here's a question. How come some of these coaches don't show up for this photo? So Sean Payton's not in it. Nick Sirianni's not in it.
Smart.
But Peyton's there.
Right.
Yeah,
it's just the photo that, did they have a prior engagement?
I'll tell you why.
They're playing golf.
Definitely playing golf.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I know they want us to be here, but I don't care. Sean Payton's won
Tomlin,
enough.
Sean Payton, Mike McCarthy, Nick Sirianni, Eberflus are the only coaches not present. I'm telling you again, if I was Mike McCarthy, I'd be everywhere. I'd be at the combine. I'd be in the picture.
McCarthy?
I would be everywhere. Yeah, because I'm on the hot seat. I want to be as around as possible. Like, don't forget about me. You can't fire me.
There are a couple guys that I had to look at a few times. Just remember, Zach Taylor, Bengals coach. That guy's so anonymous looking. He could play an extra in any movie. And Todd Bowles, I've seen 1,000 times in my life. I was just looking at him like, oh, who's that guy again? Oh, yeah, Todd Bowles. He's not Mr. Character. But your guy, you know who stands out the most? Sean McDermott. Because he's sitting there. He's
looking
wearing
uptight.
He's wearing a...
Looking like he's ready to make a bad decision with 30 seconds left in the game.
He's the only person with a sport jacket, and he's wearing a sport jacket, and he's wearing kind of fancy Nikes. He completely stands out of this picture, and I don't think that's a good thing, Mag.
Great.
I feel like Antonio Pierce stands out, too. He's another guy you kind of can't miss.
Yes.
He's got a very recognizable face.
Yes.
He's jacked. And he's got a chain on, which I kind of like. He's got an open collar, and he's got a gold chain. I'm like... bringing that Raiders swag. I like it.
Well, Mina Kimes...
See if they can bring any wins.
ESPN's Mina Kimes broke down the picture. The coaches are in cliques. You see the Shanahan clique, the Harbaugh clique, and then there's another clique on the right. Like, they're all... There's a way to
shouldn't
organize...
Andy Reid be sitting next to Doug Peterson then? And he's not.
I guess so. There's not an Andy Reid clique, but there's all sorts of coaching trees. It happens that all the Shanahan guys, or maybe the McVay guys, are all together.
Doug Peterson should be sitting next to Andy Reid. That would
if they did it by trees, that'd be cool. I'll tell you, Brian Daboll looks like he wants to be anywhere else.
I was going to say, that's my favorite top right corner. It's like the progression of the bald man. We started as Brian Daboll.
Dan Quinn, Saleh.
Right, and Saleh's the peak. Like, you go, all right, you start as Dable, there's some whatever progression, genetics, you get to Dan Quinn, and then you top off at Robert Sala.
Yeah.
And now the species is done.
Darwinism for bald men. Middle-aged bald men.
You just get to Gerard Mayo.
some
and
good-
it's like, and
better
now we're on
breeding-
a different path.
It's funny.
He's got plenty of hair.
The picture is bookended by Mike McDonald. Looks like he was a production assistant on the photo shoot. He's tiny, and Brian Daboll does not fit in at all. Brian Daboll, doesn't he look like an extra in this photo? He doesn't look
He
like
looks
an
like a
NFL head
hobbit.
coach.
Why is he so small?
I don't know.
He's very short. The other thing, too, is if you're going to sit in the front row, you got to give me something with the kicks. Shout out to your guy, McDermott, and shout out to the guy who I didn't know, Dennis Allen, and what we got here? What's the guy? Stefanski.
Stefanski,
We
yeah.
got some Jordans. I see some looks like Dennis Allen may rocking some dunks. I see Sean McDermott rocking some dunks. Some of these other guys, I see these anonymous white sneakers. Come on. You can do better than that.
Jonathan Gannon stands out in this picture. He looks yoked. The Cardinals coach, I thought he was a skinny, nerdy, watch tape all day guy.
I also like him showing the ankles.
Yeah,
That's
he's
a
got
flex.
loafers.
Is that him on the end next to Peterson?
Yes.
Okay.
He's pretty
Didn't
big.
know him.
Remember, he's a pew, 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 pew guy.
Yeah, he's got to have a hat or a visor on. Without that, I got nothing.
Meanwhile, the Arizona Cardinals said not only is their 4th overall pick for sale, they said if they could hang a sign out front that says for sale, they would do it.
Team should be for sale.
Well, that for sure.
They failed all those the report card grades
Oh.
for everything. I mean,
Woof.
Making people pay for food. Bogish has headlines. Hello.
Sure. Whatever you say, Maggie. Let me
Busy
find them here.
texting, typing with your
I'm
friends back at the Nets?
No, I'm looking at this picture. It's mesmerizing like it is every year.
It's
Like every time you
fascinating.
look at it, there's something else to figure out.
If you're going to pull it up at home, set aside an hour because you're going to have a lot to look at here.
one last thing on it though. Also, cameraman, crooked. Come on, man.
Oh, but dude, try
It's on
to
a slope.
No, but wait till you have kids and you're trying to wrangle more than two of them for a picture. You've got 30-ish dopey adults. Like, look at some. Like, Salah's not looking. Two guys look like they're afraid of the picture because it's going to steal their soul. Like, you can't. There's no way you're going to get a balanced, everybody looking at me, smiling picture.
Yeah, All right,
This
look
is
at
the
my
best of the
hands.
worst.
30 alphas, too. You think Dan Campbell's listening to anybody? No way.
Dan Campbell's not even looking at the camera.
He's not.
I like to see the Harbaughs sitting next to each other. I guess they
That-
kind of have to.
Yeah, I kind of didn't like that.
Why? If that was your brother, you have 4 brothers, don't you?
Yeah, if we were in a group picture with a bunch of friends or enemies, I think we would spread out.
No, if you're all NBA coaches, you'd have to sit next to each other.
You got to do that.
But you gotta understand, when you're a brother, especially brothers close in age, which the Harbaughs are, and I'm close in age with my second in the 4, you're always put together all the time. All the time. And it's like, when especially when you're an NFL head coach, at this point you think you've created your own identity to some degree, and then we take a group picture. I got to sit next to my brother again. I love Shamari, but come on. I want to sit next to him.
I'd rather sit next to Sean McDermott. You can have him.
Antonio Pierce. At least I look cool.
Here's Zach Taylor.
I don't understand. Jim Harbaugh is dead center front row. It looks like Jim Harbaugh. It's a family reunion, and Jim Harbaugh is the grandfather, and everyone's rallying around him. How did he
Yeah.
get between Andy Reid and John Harbaugh?
I think that was a flex. I like that he sat right next to Andy Reid.
Yeah, no, I get that
I'm
sense
here.
too.
And in your division.
Yeah, no,
I'm here.
that was not an act. That guy does nothing by accident. Yeah.
Oh, Andy looks the opposite of scared. By the way, I don't think he cares.
I don't think he
one way or
knows
the
or
other.
cares.
No, Andy
that
looks
he's up there.
hungry.
He's like,
know where he is.
He's like, do you want L'Jarius Sneed? Take him. give me a turkey sandwich.
Chicken tortilla or
Why is that guy on the Titans? Anyway,
Good
Bogish has
question.
headlines.
You may remember that the Big East was pretty pissed that only 3 schools made men's March Madness. Now those 3 schools, UConn, Marquette, and Creighton, are 6-0, all headed for the Sweet 16. UConn head coach Danny Hurley after yesterday's 75-58 beating of Northwestern.
The mistake was made. It sucks.
Hurley's team is the first reigning champ to make the Sweet 16 since Duke in 2016. They've won 8 consecutive tournament games by double digits. And now we get a rematch of last April's title game, San Diego State on Thursday in Boston. Those Aztecs steamrolled Yale yesterday, 85-57. Grand Canyon, like Yale, couldn't pull off a second upset either, losing to Alabama 72-61. Third-seeded Baylor knocked out by Clemson, 72-64. Duke, a 93-55 rout of JMU, and top-seeded Houston needed overtime to dispatch Texas A&M 195. The Cougs led by 12 with 2 minutes left in regulation. The Aggies hitting a 3 at the buzzer to force OT. We've got some coaching news as well. West Virginia reportedly hiring Drake's Darian DeVries and his son Tucker. A nearly 2,000-point score expected to follow Dad to Morgantown. The women complete their Sweet 16 today. The schedule includes UConn hosting Syracuse, 6 Eastern. Caitlin Clark and Iowa host Washington at 8. Now, you guys have already mentioned that Mike Tomlin's been talking at these meetings about his quarterback room. Justin Fields is in it because the Bears prefer Caleb Williams, but that doesn't mean the breakup was easy. Here's GM Ryan Poles from this morning.
Probably one of the harder things I had to do. I know, I always kind of touch on the empathy part. Like having that conversation with my own son was hard. His jersey's up in his room, so it kind of puts that into perspective of how difficult those moves are.
Do you think Ryan Poles' son also thinks Dad should have gotten more for Justin Fields?
The reason why it was hard is because he only got a 6th-round pick for 2025.
Come on, Dad. Work the phones.
You couldn't have gotten anything better?
Seems to have a blind spot with Pittsburgh, Ryan Poles, because that was the Chase Claypool deal.
Right.
Oh, boy. No, I think we disagree about this. He had to get Justin Fields out of that building. You guys think that Caleb Williams and Justin Fields could be there? That would have been a nightmare.
I would have waited because I don't think the awkwardness would have lasted for that long. I would
Waited
have
for
waited.
what? Till August 23rd?
No, for an injury probably. I hate to say it, but if I am being cutthroat about this, then I probably would like something better.
Yeah, but
if I'm getting something for 2025 anyway,
right,
what's the difference?
It certainly hurt their leverage, but what if you keep both of them and then Williams gets hurt and Fields plays okay? You're just restarting all the drama.
No.
He had to go. He had to be gone.
Even better. Because let's say Caleb Williams does get nicked up a little bit in his rookie season and then Fields comes in and he plays great, then I'm definitely getting something good for him.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Would he have been in a contract year?
He'd be a free agent, right?
Yeah, you have to pick up the 5th year option.
That's
so
the whole issue. And then you might get a third-year comp. Regardless, though, you waiting for an injury is a dangerous proposition because that means preseason or something. Like you have a lot of training camp before that. Matt Eberflus is not exactly great at handling any questions, let alone Justin Fields, Caleb Williams questions.
Apparently schedules, too. Can't show for a picture.
I know. That's why I say you just would have said, well, we don't have to talk about this now because it didn't happen, but you would have just said Caleb's the starter and Justin's the backup, and that's how it's going to be. However, did you see now?
Or vice versa.
No, Caleb's the starter.
I mean, how do you know?
Well, that's what I would have said if this was me.
Yeah.
The thing also about Ryan Poles, did you see the feedback from Caleb Williams' teammates was amazing, he said.
Of course
it was.
Break.
Best shape of his life.
What on earth cares what anybody says this time of year?
By the way,
But you guys are talking about how he's got empathy about Justin Fields. If they're lying about one thing, they're lying about everything.
I just realized listening to this Ryan Poles comment that I could never have a parent that's running a team that I root for. That would be terrible.
Parent?
Oh, no. You would, EJ, you'd be the kind of guy who would have a jersey of the rival just to rile your parent, probably.
Honestly, my dad probably agree with that. Yeah. No, I would constantly be like, we got to do more. What are we doing? That's, I don't know how young his son is, but I didn't even think about that. If my dad was running the Jets, I would annoy him all the time. And I would be second-guessing everything.
Right. And then you'd be kicking field goals at MetLife with your buddies for fun on a Tuesday afternoon. It would make up for all the negative stuff.
Ooh, I don't know.
Right? Or you're shooting jumpers post-Knicks practice.
Maybe this is why Robert Saleh's on the golf course so much. Maybe his kids are giving him guff.
Or maybe his kids are just so happy, as Bogus said, they're so gleeful that their dad is the head coach of the Jets that they're not giving them any crap. They're just the nicest, just easiest to deal with 5 to 15-year-olds. I don't know how old his kids are ever, because they're just so happy to be the son of an NFL head coach. I know, again, if one of my parents were running a sports team that I live and die with, I would be so annoying.
I picked another department to work in, and I take advantage of it, and I cash the check. And let my parent run that department.
If it's sales, that's different. You're running. You're the guy that pulls the trigger on the trades.
By the way,
it's fine with me. The check clears.
I assume that plenty of people still slip into Johnny Manziel's DMs these days. One of them is Lee Hutton III, the commissioner of the reincarnated Arena Football League. Mr. Hutton says he has DM'd Manziel and others to invite them to play for one of his 16 teams. Not sure there's been a response just yet from Johnny Manziel about being in the AFL, which would be like the 8th different place he's played post-NFL if he was to say yes.
I mean, why say no? they barely play any defense in the Arena League, right? So it's not like you're putting yourself at some major injury risk.
I guess. I just want to see them actually play a game. Like, survive long enough as a league to start this bad boy up again.
Get Schwartz on that.
I mean, when they announced this, we looked into buying a team.
Right.
Do you remember that,
about
Pete?
that.
Wow. What did you crunch the numbers?
We didn't have enough. We weren't liquid enough to,
yeah.
to cut through their the initial requirements of.
What's the down payment?
Like $75. It's not a lot.
They give us $75.
What do I have to do to put you in the owner's box today?
I didn't realize the AFL went away until said it
did
2 minutes ago. I thought they'd been playing this whole time.
Wait, didn't they merge with the XFL? No.
That's the
USFL.
That's the other USFL. Yeah.
That's a slightly bigger
Can we
deal.
just quit the
And it's
spring
outside.
football? That's never going to be a thing. Can we stop doing it?
I'm so
you tell
with
me
you.
if The Rock can't get this going, then nobody can get it going.
Yeah.
Basically. Like, enough. Yes, we love football. No, we don't want to see guys from William and Mary, playing against guys from Delaware. Like,
I do.
Okay, Pete, you and the 12 others. Like,
Shohei Ohtani's interpreter's got a lot riding on that game.
Right.
He's going to show up in a New York Dragons shirt.
He's got $500,000 on that game.
Why don't you take a shot at William and Mary in Delaware? Joe Flacco, Mike Tomlin, Sean
went after the
McDermott.
Colonial. Sorry.
Yeah.
I actually like that conference, too.
It's the Coastal, by the way.
Oh, yeah, they
Athletic
changed it.
Association.
And they've been-
I know.
Oh, you can't say Colonial anymore.
Yeah,
Two
yeah,
Super Bowl
yeah.
quarterbacks out of Delaware, Rich Gannon and Joe Flacco. Not bad.
Tell you what, if those guys came out of retirement and started playing, I still wouldn't care about watching.
Flacco's out of retirement.
Yeah, Flacco's going to start 6 games next year.
Rich Gannon, and my mind went, Rich Gannon.
Yeah. No, actually, it sounded right with Flacco,
Flacco's
too.
the
I
comeback
think
player of the year
he was
over
on his-
DeMar Hamlin.
He was on his couch. That is not
The NFL was
far-fetched.
this close to retiring him.
Wait, where did he sign again?
He is the
Colts.
Oh, the Colts. Right.
Oh, I couldn't have remembered that in a million years. Maggie had a good question. Does anyone can explain the strategy of the Tennessee Titans, who have now signed 3 random superstars? And still,
I like it.
they're going to be 6-11 with L'Jarius Sneed at cornerback. What's going
Right
on?
when they get good is when you're going to have to re-sign all these people.
I like it. No, I think the Titans have had a really good offseason. I think that I saw the Jets do this with Mark Sanchez, and it actually was kind of smart. Like, hey, you're on a rookie deal with a quarterback that looks a little suspect. Put him around as many veteran, semi-good players as possible and hope that our defense can win you some games. I actually think Tennessee may surprise people this year.
Surprise them with what?
If they were above 500 team competing for I like the Texans a lot, so maybe not division. But they were competing for a wild card spot going into the last month of the season, would not surprise me at all. Tony Pollard was the only move I didn't love, and that wasn't even the worst move ever.
Ridley was a
Unproven head
lot of money.
coach. I don't know.
I think Callahan is a
money.
great. I
This
think
isn't
he's
Mike Vrabel coaching that defense.
I like the Callahan coming from the Zach Taylor coaching tree. I think Zach Taylor's a really good offensive coach. I think Calvin Ridley improves their receiving core a lot, considering he's next to DeAndre Hopkins. And the defense was always okay. The defense was not really that big an issue, and they just added who I think is a great corner. I don't know. Titans, watch out. I think they might be interesting this year.
Translation: they'll finish 6-11 no matter who's on the roster.
They'll be, the AFC South. Do you like the Colts too? I'm sure. And we all love the Texans, and the Jags are.
I think the Colts might actually take a step back.
We'll see. See if Anthony Richardson can
They do
stay
have Joe
healthy.
Flacco. We just learned. That's
yeah,
true.
right. So they're making the playoffs and then losing by 20. Bogish, thank you.
My pleasure.
We got Dion.
See you guys next week.
Thank you.
Is that it? Where else are the Nets playing?
They're in Toronto tonight.
Are you going to make it?
Without me, so we'll see what happens.
Move over Caitlin Clark.
That's why I wore a Raptors jersey, just to piss off Bogish.
I saw it. I saw it.
You might have to do a little bit more than that.
Can our audience
he saw it, so
He got the free snacks.
Can our
That's
audience
it.
name 5 players in that Nets Raptors game tonight?
Total?
No.
Yes. Even you just did a Nets game.
I can't name 5 Raptors, I don't think.
All-time
Can't name
Raptors.
one.
All-time Raptors, yes.
They got some former Knicks. You shouldn't be able to name
Oh,
them.
that's right.
Scotty
is.
Barnes.
RJ Barrett.
Oh, right, that trade.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's it.
2. Good job, guys.
Okay.
Way to go, team.
I'm out. Is Jakob Pertl still a Raptor?
Does Van
He is,
Vliet
actually.
count, even though
Ray
he's in
for
Houston?
Austin.
Definitely
He's
not
on
there
the
anymore.
Rockets.
Yeah, I know.
He definitely doesn't count.
Ray for Austin still,
Skid to my Lou.
That's right.
Oh, my God. I'm looking at this depth chart. They made this up. This is not a real team.
Which side?
I don't know. I mean, are you excited to watch Javon Freeman Liberty tonight suit up for the Raptors?
That's not a real player.
Oh, boy.
I think you just said the name and then where he went to college.
How about Jordan Nwora averaging 6.5 points a game?
Okay.
There you go.
Got his jersey.
Good player in college. NBA, yeah.
Anyway.
That's a problem.
Yeah, big problem when you're playing in the NBA now.
That's a problem when you're
But it does have Grady Dick in the starting lineup, so might have a
is
fun
there
jersey
anyone fun
exchange.
on the Nets jersey that we could pair him next to Grady Dick? I don't think so.
I mean, there's Day'Ron Sharp.
Ooh.
Oh, Sharp. Day'Ron Sharp. I think Bridges.
Explain that one.
Grady Dick Bridges. Dick Bridges.
That sounds like a name you like a
Sounds like
famous
an
person would
accountant.
use to get into a hotel. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's funny though.
name.
Dick Bridges. That's not.
I think actor from
Please
the 80s.
tell me you are cutting this.
How about Dinwiddie? Spencer Dinwiddie?
Oh,
Not on the Nets.
Oh, he's not
on the
there anymore,
Lakers.
is he?
Like, what was Mike Vick? Ron Mexico?
Ron
So you
Mexico,
check in
yeah.
as Dick Bridges. It's the same thing.
That's a funny name.
It's a good name.
I know, but the point of the name is that you're supposed to draw less attention to yourself. Less attention, not more. So you
Right.
come in and be like, what's your name? Dick Bridges. I've got a suite.
Dick Bridges sounds pretty normal, actually. I think I know a Dick Bridges.
Clowny Dick. I think Clowny Dick would be a little.
No, it wouldn't.
Clowny Dick.
What about Dick Johnson to be
That
redundant?
doesn't mean anything.
Clowny Dick. Of course it does mean something. What are you talking about?
What? Like, oh.
You know, it's got big feet on the nose.
Right. Put a red nose on it.
What about Dick Durbin? Oh, that's a real person. Sorry.
It's not
Do you
exactly.
realize how close we are to getting canceled? You said put a red nose on it. We're all going to be out of a job.
I didn't say it, just for the record.
Oh, my goodness. Ah.
Tease
That
a
was
topic.
no
Go ahead.
Clowny,
I
by the
think
way, is
it's
the player
right.
that I was referencing.
It's time to
I
take a
didn't make
break.
up that name.
It's past time to take a break. 855-212 for CBS. It'll be the only radio show in history that gets canceled because our producer. We didn't even say it. Well, I guess I did. 855-212 for CBS. We've got Deion Sanders now next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Daily.
Do you believe that?
Dion.
You believe that?
All right, quickly, we get to Deion Sanders, who was on the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast talking about Shador, his son, and Travis Hunter, two-way star who he's been mentoring going back to Jackson State. Make no mistake, they are going top 4 in the draft.
Where do you predict Shador and Travis going in the draft?
Top 4.
Ooh, that's beautiful.
Anywhere from 1 through 4. One of them is going to be 1.
That's what I'm talking about.
One of them is going to be
speak it
1.
into existence.
And the latter one would not go behind 4.
Okay, he also says, well, where will they go? Deion's going to have a say in that.
All this is subjective because I know where I kind of want them to go.
Mm-hmm.
And let's not forget Shallow, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I know where I want them to go. So there's certain cities that ain't going to happen.
Okay, you on point.
It's going to be it's going to be an Eli.
Man, big claim there from Deion Sanders. I'm not sure.
I mean, the 1 and 4 actually is not a big claim because I think any mock draft has them 1 and 4.
No, not that, but just where he's going to dictate where
Yeah.
they're going to go, and it's a Eli Manning situation. First of all, we've never seen an Eli Manning situation with someone besides a quarterback. So for Travis Hunter, even if it's a two-way star, that would be pretty surprising. But two, I know Deion has their best interest at heart, but is he kind of hurt these guys by putting it out there right now that, hey, there's going to be teams that they're not going to play for?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm looking at a mock draft. Ironically, it's the Titans at number 1 for next year. Sorry, EJ, who we just predicted to be good. But what's the team that's out there that might need a quarterback next year? There's one big one, and Deion happened to play for them, and they wear cowboy hats.
Yep.
Is he going to try and make it somehow so Shador is the Cowboys' next quarterback? That's what jumped to mind there.
You think the Cowboys are picking in the top 4? Something would have to go drastically wrong.
Crazy trade up for the Cowboys to get him. You know, you're right. Obviously, they're not going to be the number 1 pick, but I do think that he's going to try and manipulate. I completely believe him. Do you believe Deion when he says that?
Yeah, I just don't know how much it helps the two players.
That'll be fine.
That'll be fun.
Especially Travis. That dude's a baller.
We'll talk more about that tomorrow. So much to do. We just flat out ran out of time. So thank you to EJ Stewart. Thank you to Pete Pilati. Thank you to Andrew Bogish, Andrew Kaplan, Guidos and Coffee Drinkers in our chat. You guys are phenomenal. We'll see you tomorrow.